Oh, she sounds a bit more aggressive today. We all hope that you have. I'm going to start that again because I can't read my own writing. That's not my thing. But they're all going to
Nobody's
be.
thing.
I'll do
Whoa.
the
I
red.
got it. I got it.
Okay.
I'll do green. You can do red.
Stand
All
back.
right.
He's ready to go. Here we go.
Yeah. So let's head.
Fantastic. The man's a professional. What can I say? See, I am not a professional. I'm just gonna start that all over.
Lovely. Oh, you're muted, Scott. Hello, one and all, to episode 109 of the Plastic Posse podcast. We hope that all of you listening have had a wonderful festive period, however you choose to celebrate it, and we are excited to see what amazing modelling adventures 2025 brings us. Before we get going, we want to give a special thanks to our Patreon supporters, especially our deputy marshals. Each of you helped make the Plastic Posse possible, and we are grateful for your support. We also extend our thanks to our podcast partners, namely Tankcraft, Tamiya USA, Bases by Bill, and AK Interactive. We are a 50% crew today. JB is out with family stuff. Grant is in Las Vegas at the Las Vegas Open Wargaming Convention with Rick Lawler. And Doug has decided to step away from the posse for the time being, so we wish him well. Let's just start by going around the room and see what everyone's been up to over the festive period. TJ, let's start with you.
Man, I was really hoping you wouldn't start with me, but that's fine. Not a whole lot, really. My face feels better. It's not as tight as it was, and it's healed well. I feel like it's not as noticeable, which I guess is cool. Um, but I guess model wise, I've just been like poking around on stuff. I got made some fair amount of progress on the MiG-21R until I ran into some speed bumps with the freaking decals, which are annoying. The stencil decals just didn't want to cooperate. I've got through that. Um, Steve Baker's and I have been chatting back and forth, and he was gracious enough. He sent me some as a Christmas present, which was the old style, which I really honestly have not fared much better. They silver like crazy no matter what I do. I've had to fight tooth and claw to get them to lay down. And I mean, I think the strongest solving solution I have is Tamiya Mark Fit Strong, which is pretty strong. It's damaged the paint on this model more than once, so I got to fix that. And I got to the point where I was attacking it with a sanding sponge without a clear coat over it, just to try to break the surface of the decal, and it's worked. It's just not what you want to do when you've got, I don't know, 150 stencils on the model.
Oh,
So luckily for me, so I use the the black ones that I use came from they're the new style with the large film that you can peel. And actually, I have not really been peeling them, and I've gotten them. Those stencils have gone down beautifully, but there's a bunch of stencils that are red, and the red ones on the new sheet all have a white outline around the letters, which is not the way they're supposed to be. So I was using the red ones from the replacement decal sheet, and those are beautiful looking, but those are the ones that have really fought me, and it's been very annoying. But the other ones, the black ones, look fantastic. And I've peeled off some of them, and then as I've done that, I've actually peeled away some of the decal, which, in my opinion, works perfectly for the stencils anyways, because the aircraft is used and the stencils have chipped off or worn or whatever. So I'm not too worried about it. But yeah, that's what I've been dealing with for the most part. And I started working on my FM2 Wildcat from Edward. I built the F4 F3 2 years ago. Beautiful little kit. I love the Wildcat. I like the way it looks. Then me and Jensen and Steve Baker are building Wildcats. I'm building the FM2, and I got the pretty much the full suite of aftermarket. I built the 3D printed cockpit the other night. It's not bad. The detail's fantastic. It doesn't it's got some warpage to it, which is a little annoying, but I've gotten it just through brute force to fit into the cockpit where I want it, or into the fuselage where I want it. I haven't painted it yet. It's not permanently in place in there, but I can make it fit the way I want to make it fit. The only thing that I'm disappointed about, I bought the one with the unarmored headrest, and the one I want to do, I'm pretty sure has the armored headrest in it because it's a post-war training Wildcat that I found a picture of. That's pretty cool, but at this point, I honestly just don't care. I'm just going to do it anyways, and whatever. If someone wants to complain about it, they can complain about it. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
I love the FM2, favorite Wildcat, and really excited that Edward did a really, really good, credible version of that particular Wildcat. I love the tall tail and
Yeah.
all the kind of spotting features of it. I just think it's very, very distinctive, and there's some really great paint jobs available for it. And as far as the decals, man, yeah, I mean, just it's weird that you would have so many issues on the same manufacturer, even on the same sheets in some cases, like you've been talking about. But yeah, it's just decals, decals.
Yeah.
So
I do have to mention, because I see that you guys had mentioned it in our notes for yourselves, our Secret Santa, and I got the oh, I thought, oh, it was in here, but I moved it. I got a Machining Krieger Oscar with the, it's similar to the one that I did a couple years ago. It's just got a different gun from Mr. Scott Gentry by way of Mr. John Benani, who got it when he was in Korea.
Our modeling mule, our courier.
Yeah. So I was tickled pink because absolutely love the Oscar. I mean, I always, anytime I mention anything machining career, I always say it's one of my favorite designs. And it really is. I don't know, there's something about it. It's the little head, and it floats around, and yeah, I was very, very excited to get that, and very touched. And it was pretty cool you guys comboed on getting that to me. And then the I know I told you guys when we did our Secret Santa, I knew almost like who everyone's Secret Santa was, because like, what, I mean, how many of us do it? Nine? For
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Eight or
uh,
nine of us. Yeah.
four of them, four of you guys messaged me like, I don't know what to get so and so, or I think I'm going to get,
Yeah.
this person this. So Ian texted me and was like, I don't know what to get Scott. So I was like, you should get him. I'll let you talk about it. Like that, I told him that's what you should get him. And then Jonathan, Doc, he was like, hey, I think I'm going to get this for Jensen, but I don't know if I'm going to get it there in time. I don't know what to do. And then he told me what he was getting you. And then someone else, one other person definitely told me, oh, Jackson, I think, was like, dude, I don't know. I can't remember who Jackson had. Maybe Ian. Yeah, I think he had Ian. He's like, I have no idea what to get Ian. No, I had Ian. I'm sorry. Um, I knew immediately what I was gonna get Ian. Oh crap, I can't remember. And I think Zach also was like, I don't know what to get so and so. I'm like, what? Why is everyone coming to me now?
TJ's the oracle of Secret Santa.
I had it narrowed down. I was like, it's either Scott, Jensen, or JB. That's who got me. That's who is getting my Secret Santa, because they're the ones that didn't ask me, or didn't say anything to me,
Yeah.
which I thought
I
was really
was
funny.
and you didn't know it, but you actually picked your gift because you guys were talking. John was headed over there, and he was like, "Hey, if you were like, hey, if you see an Oscar," and I immediately messaged JB, and I'm like, "I've been looking for one of these. Do not get him an Oscar. Get me an Oscar, and I'll give it to him for a gift." Because I had found one here like a year ago for Grant in Salt Lake, and they're really a year ago they were hard to find, and now they were really, really hard, but he found one over there and made it happen, so I was pretty excited about it.
Yeah, tracking one down is not easy. There was a vendor at SMC that was selling Machine Krieger stuff. He had one for 100 euros, and I walked past it probably like 3 or 4 times because I'm like, it's a little expensive, but they're also impossible to find. It's right here. I have 100 euros. Like I have spending money for this kind of stuff. And by the time I decided to buy it, when I went back, it was gone. And then
Yeah.
the one I had gotten a couple years ago, I got from Brett Avance, who was offloading some of his duplicates, and he sold it. He sold that and I think like three other things to me for Japanese MSRP because he's like, I'm not trying to make money off of anyone. These are all duplicates. I'm never going to build them. I'd rather them go to someone that is going to build them. So I'm like, I am your Huckleberry when it comes to that. And kind of related to that, I just sold Brett a Sergeant Yovan. I think that's how you pronounce it. A Space Marine character. He's a sergeant. Very hard to find. I think you only got them from Games Workshop story anniversaries when they would hold events. I sold it to him for what I paid for it, even though on
Awesome.
eBay that thing's probably like $150, if
Oh,
not more,
yeah.
because they're
Wow.
really hard to find. And then I'm sad to see it go because it is probably the coolest and most characterful Space Marine, Primaris Space Marine sculpt they've ever done. It is so awesome, and I had grand delusions about gonna paint it, and I wasn't even gonna use it in a game. I just wanted to make it like a display miniature, so I got it like half built and then put it away, and there it laid. So when he was looking for one, I reached out to him. I was like, "Hey, I have one. If somewhere, if I can find it, it's yours." So I did.
That's
I
cool.
gotta drop it in the mail to him. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, Brett, when he sold off that machining career, man, I think he did some deals for our buddy Aaron Cook as well. He really, really great trader as far as taking care of other people, and that's awesome. You're doing the same thing.
Yeah, Brett's a good dude. I'm sure a lot of people know who he is. He's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
He used to own Sabo Publications, I think, I'm pretty sure, or co-own it. He's from the Missouri area originally. I think he moved recently. But he was definitely from like the St. Louis area because he knows Jeff Feller,
Oh yeah.
good friend of
Okay.
mine. Jeff is originally from the St. Louis area. So he came up with Charlie Pritchett and Brett Avance and Chris Morosco and like all the people from that area. And so I think also Verlinden was there for a time period. That's where their production was something I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Well, Jensen, I see that from the UK, you were trying to challenge Steve Baker for his Edward Sells Trophy. So tell
Uh,
us a little bit about what you've been up to.
So yeah, just before Christmas, one of the things I like because over Christmas, my mum was always like, "What do you want for Christmas?" And this year I was just like, "I can't think." And then I realized he had the P40s for pre-order in like November, and this is back when I was thinking about it. I was like, you know what? Actually, there's some kits coming out, and she's always like, "No, I will not buy you kits. You have enough. You have nearly 500. You're not taking over another room in the house with more kit." But persuasion did the trick. Anyway, so yeah, I pre-ordered like the P40s, the Royal classes, two of them because why not? The 3D printed engine, landing flaps, all the nice bits and pieces for them. And at the same time, I also bought the Bunny Fighter Club activation kit of the Tempest Mark V. So that was ordered and waiting. But obviously, a pre-order. They were shipping mid-January. They have shipped. It is actually now on it. Where it's currently in Nuremberg. It's driving its way here slowly. But then I was just like, you know what? That's not enough. I want more Edward stuff. So I decided to put another order in, which really was brought about by. I don't know if the buddy build came about as a result of my order or the order was a result of TJ saying let's buddy build. But yeah, I got the FM1. I got like two zeros. I also got the FM2. I got the Mustang Mark III. I got there's a
The collateral damage on this thing is
yeah.
getting pretty epic pretty fast.
I get really badly carried away. Like I'll start putting like one thing in the basket with aftermarket, and then I'm like, but that model's got a really cool scheme in it. Then I'll be like, okay, I'll get that model as well. I'm like, oh, but that's got really nice aftermarket. And then so because I've got another Edward basket set up, but it's currently at 300 quid and there's 40 items in it. Because at first I was looking at like one Mark V Spitfire. Then Edward do all these different boxings of lates, earlys, Mark 5C, Mark 5B, weekend editions, trophy packs, limited edition dual combos. I'm just like, okay, the schemes in every single one of those boxings that I want. And I know I could do over trees and just buy, like, say, a limited edition set and get it, but I don't do that. I like fancy boxes, and my house needs insulation. But yes, big Edward order that arrived. His Majesty's Customs will be loving me because I was indeed hit with customs duty again of a nice whopping £90. So that was fun. Um,
Jeez.
yeah, but negativity aside, yes, I'm doing the FM1 for the buddy build. I'm doing the Royal Navy HMS. No, I'm not. I'm looking at the wrong page. HMS Tracker. Yeah, it's the Naval Air Squadron one. It's got the invasion stripes, and it's extra dark sea grey and dark slate grey, which, in my opinion, they are very hideous colors. Like they're not nice. I really like the dark green and dark like the ocean grey. That's a beautiful like camo scheme. But the slate grey and the ocean, it's a bit. I call it murky. But I'm actually looking forward to it to make that color that I actually don't like look interesting. And invasion stripes are always nice. I having witnessed TJ's very successful decal adventure, I'm not using the decals in this kit. And in all fairness, RAF markings and Royal Navy markings, just roundels and letters, really easy to make on a silhouette. So I'm just going to stick the decal sheet in the scanner, scan it, send it into Affinity Designer, and just very quickly make basically a carbon copy mask sheet of the decal sheet. So for any future builds, I can actually get over trees and do that. I also got an order in from AliExpress, which back in the day I'd be like AliExpress so dodgy. But yeah, I ordered quite a lot of. I'm going to say this wrong. Me and Scott were talking about this beforehand. Dispay or Thispay. Or there's a way of saying it. But yeah, got a little order of stuff from them. I got the vacuum, which looks a bit questionable, not gonna lie. That's really good. Keeps the bench really tidy. So I got that, and there was a discussion. It's been all over Facebook before Christmas. The reciprocating sander pen and the other electric sanding pen with like grinding bits, but
Yeah.
also the little metal shaft you can stick the sanding sponges on. That's the one. Amazing. Like really impressed with those tools.
Yeah, I got the pen sander as well. After Mark picked it up and was
Yep.
kind of talking about it, and man, the tiny little bits of sanding. When I got it, I was like, yeah, these aren't gonna stick to these
Hmm.
to these little fittings, and they stick. It's amazing
Oh yeah.
how well they stick, and you can fit them into cockpits and in between like ribs of aircraft and in tiny places on armor. So yeah, that is a great tool. I needed that like 10 years ago.
My only complaint with the pen sander is it does not fit the little PCP
I was
drill
just
bits.
about to mention that. Yep.
If it fit these, this thing would be worth its weight in gold.
Hmm.
It's still useful. I've already used it once. And I just got it. I think I have the 600. I think that's a 600 grit pad on there. Thing's freaking sweet. And yeah, I was so hoping it would fit the shank
Hmm.
of those PCB drill bits, and it doesn't. And that is, to me, in my opinion, that's a lost opportunity because
Massive
this
shame.
thing is even for like my small. I have a Dremel stylo, which is pretty small, but it's still corded. It's not as small as this. This is like literally like writing with a pen. I would much rather use this to drill tiny holes and stuff than my Dremel stylo. And I know there's other small drills out there, but I don't need any more. This is enough. But yeah, I mean, whatever. It is what it is. I will use this thing a lot.
Hmm.
Plus, it's candy apple red metallic.
Yeah,
Yeah, like display tools are very pretty, and the
they
packaging is
are.
very nice.
Yeah, they really make them snazzy. It's almost like the modeling equivalent of Snap-on tools, right?
And it's nice. I mean, the cord that they give you is pretty long too, which is
Yeah.
Yeah.
nice to charge it. And it also works because this what is this USB C?
See, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's
USB-C,
what that
yeah.
is.
And it's
This
quality. It's really nice.
it also fits the little wireless soldering iron that I have, which is nice.
Nice.
If you guys don't have one of those, you should get one. If you want to do any soldering, the thing is freaking sweet. I don't know what I did with it. It's in a pile of crap over here somewhere. I got that on the recommendation of Jackson and I think Jeff. They both have one.
Writing on my tools I need to acquire list.
Um, my only problem with that pen we have, and I was using the grinding bits for it. Definitely my fault, absolutely. Is I was removing a panel from the front of the FM1, so I can show off the 3D printed engine bay and fuel tank. All that really looks cool, and it's so nicely detailed. It's a shame that you can only see it if you lift up the model from the underside and poke your head in. So I was removing that panel. That made that job like a billion times easier. Like I can't quite put into words how quick and easy it made that job. However, my fault was them bits are really sharp and they grip plastic really quickly. So I found my hands slipping quite a bit, and I did scratch the surface of the front of the aircraft like twice, which I've had to like fill because they are really aggressive. I think are they tungsten bits? I don't know, but they're really really aggressive on plastic, and the pen actually has a surprising amount of torque. But it's great. Like panel removal or modification, shape modification, anything like that. It is an incredible bit of kit to have, and for like 20, I think 24 quid, £24, $30 maybe on its own, just that pen, worth it. Oh yeah, another one thing I'll say as well because again forgot to mention it. Secret Santa, Doc got me the Copper State models, Gruesome Fahrpanzer,
That is
which
so cool.
it is cool. It's like a horse-drawn,
Tank.
yeah, a horse-drawn tank, a gun in a rounded shed.
It's like a mobile pillbox
Yeah,
or
and
a mobile gun emplacement.
as well as Copper State models, 3D printed like World War One motorbike and German man. Don't know if he's an officer or a soldier. To go with it. Absolutely incredible. I don't think I've quite seen printing, especially on the motorcycle, of such a high detail and like fineness.
Yeah.
I'm scared to even unpack it from the bag. It's so crisp and like it makes you wonder how it can print so small and it managed to survive coming from Latvia to Britain. But it did. So there's that at some point to do. I know Copper State model also do like 3D printed horses to go with it. And I'm like, oh, very tempting. Never painted a horse. So that could be something new for the year. Considering we have a bet on for how many models I can finish this year, I'm going to look for
You
plenty of projects to keep me busy.
pad the stats. I feel like Copper State, I don't know why they don't get more run, but I picked up for Grant as a gift that motorcycle, and then there were some accompanying British figures that had a basket with carrier pigeons in it.
Mm,
And the subject is so compelling, but like you said, the quality is amazing. And I feel like they kind of fly under the radar still, but they do
mm.
really nice stuff. I've got one of their Newport kits, their 132nd scale
Oh yeah.
Newport, and I love the Newport. It's a really sporty little biplane, and they just do really, really high quality stuff.
For the longest time, I genuinely believed, without doing really any research and just assuming, that Copper State Models was like originally an American off branch of Wingnut Wings with how they mold and how Wingnut Wings used to mold their kits. I was like, oh, is this just like an American branch off? Because I think it was originally Arizona based, I think. And
Yes, because
Yeah.
that is the
yeah,
Copper State.
exactly. And now obviously they're based in Latvia. But yeah, they just like they're one of those companies again that if they're going to release a kit, it's going to be great. But yeah, that's me. Been really busy. Been very expensive. But that's me. Busy and expensive.
Stimulating the UK economy through the customs department again.
I'm already preparing for the next invoice from HMRC when my pre-orders from Edward come. This one I might cry less.
Seriously, emigrate, man. I mean, I don't know what it would cost you, but it's got to be less than you pay in import duties.
It will in the long run. It absolutely would. I'd save all the money on like Sprue Brothers deals and things like that. Anyway, like I'd actually end up making money.
It's a profit center enterprise. I'm pretty sure that's why, like, all the old British rock stars and movie stars all live here because of the taxes.
Oof, absolutely. So Scott, what about yourself? I nearly called you John. I looked at your name on
Yeah.
the screen. I was like, so John,
Yeah.
what about yourself?
Yeah, didn't change that. Yeah, man, just crazy. Obviously, you guys know we did that special episode, but went to Texas for Model Fiesta. Had a great time there. It was a lot of fun, and went to while we were there, went to Lionheart Hobbies and picked up one of those 48 scale Austin ambulances. I've really been wanting one of those, and they had a good price on it, and so picked up one of those. Been working with John to get all of our coins and chips out there. We're chipping away at it, no pun intended. We've got to order more coins. You guys ran us all out, so appreciate everybody being patient on that. This week we had our AMPS meeting. I think TJ, you said you had your AMPS meeting today, but I did a presentation on giving constructive critique, and the group seemed to really, really like that. On a personal note, I've been watching a lot of, I know we've talked about this on the show before, but Laser Creation World, his YouTube channel, he does a bunch of laser cut structures, but he loves the post-apocalyptic kind of 35th scale, a lot of zombie trucks and things like that. I've really been getting into his stuff and watching that. So in keeping with the Secret Santa, as TJ kind of alluded to, our buddy Ian got me that Magic Factory A4M, which is really, really nice. Great gift, home run on that. I'm super excited about it. I've been fighting busting that open. I've got a bunch of stuff I've got to get done, but man, I want to open that up and build it. And of course, had to order from our buddy John Colasante over at Matters of Scale. He does some replacement noses that are really great. So ordered one of those, and because John's John and everything, got a box full of really cool stuff. Got a couple noses, some really nice snake eyes, Mark 82s, some wheels, and a set of B17 radial engines that are just stunning. He's really good at what he does. So if anybody needs a radial engine, make sure you check out Matters of Scale. Really terrific stuff. And then also picked up the Trumpeter Maz 537, which is that big Russian 8-wheeled prime mover beast thing. I picked up a big kit of that. I have an idea for a build there. And then also a TACOM. I think both of these are Laser Creation World's fault, but I picked up one of those TACOM 72nd scale, the new US M1070 prime mover. That's a big monster equipment mover. Got the gun truck configuration on that. Picked up another Dragon Hago. They make I don't know the name of it, but they make a special version. The Hagos would get stuck in the rice paddies in Southeast Asia, so they flipped the bogies upside down. They made a special version of that, and Dragon makes a really nice kit of that, and picked that up. And then today, I just got notification before we recorded that my DOS Work 1/16 scale SDKFZ 250 is going to deliver, and I wasn't expecting it till February or March, so that's really cool. Just love that half track. It's really tiny, not much bigger than a Jeep, and it's just a really cool, again, I'm gonna say almost like a sporty little looking half track, and all the hatches open, the doors open, it's got a full engine, full interior, and I think I paid $69 for it. So just an incredible kit, and really excited about that. I think I put a video on the posse yesterday of Andy kind of bringing that up to speed. And I guess he's going to be making here in the next couple weeks a new announcement in a 16th scale American kit. So looking forward to that. So
That's
anyway,
always exciting.
Yeah.
We always look forward to a new release from Andy.
He says it's another U.S. subject, and he said people will be surprised. So I don't know. TJ, any theories on what that one's going to be?
Submarine.
No. That's a good question.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I will say this: if John Calasante could do an R2600 twin cyclone in 1/32nd scale, I know myself and a couple other people that would be very happy to buy one, because that is, for those that don't know, that's what was in an A20 Havoc. He's doing one, but in 1/48 scale, so just make it a little bit bigger.
I'd reach out to him. He may just be able to scale it up for you. I don't know on the ignition wires if he'd have to change those or whatever, but John's a pretty talented guy. So anyway, well, hey, before I kick it back over to Mr. Jensen. Just wanted to do a little thing here on behalf of Grant, who is in, as Jensen mentioned, in Las Vegas with Rick. But as most of you know, there's been a lot of really bad fires in LA, and unfortunately, Grant's neighborhood was affected, and many of the homes right in his neighborhood were lost. He was actually evacuated, but his home ended up being okay and surviving the fire. He's doing very well. Even though he's not here with us today, he sent me a little recording of thank you to all those out there that sent him messages of support. So we're gonna listen to that recording now. Just kind of a thank you from Grant out to the posse.
Hello, everybody. This is Grant. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's reached out to me via message or by the phone during the recent California wildfires. My wife and I are fine. We are doing good. And luckily, we did not have much damage to our house. I do really appreciate all the kind words and all the offers to help. Have a great day, and thank you so much.
The Plastic Posse podcast is sponsored by Tankcraft. In addition to their awesome cutting mats, Tankcraft also makes some incredible scale modeling tools for your workbench. Want to keep extra thin cement off your bench and in the bottle where it belongs? Check out Tankcraft Glue Base, designed to stop glue spills in their tracks. The glue base is made from solid milled aluminum and comes with a stable rubber base pad and can accommodate most square and round cement bottles. And while you're there, check out their line of cutting mats and other unique modeling tools. Remember, Posse listeners get 15% off their first order by using the code POSSE15. So head on over to tankcraft.com. That's TANKRAFT.com.
Jensen, back to you.
Wonderful stuff. So it looks like everyone's had a very productive festive period. So let's head over to TJ for models we liked from the Plastic Posse.
All right. I'm going to start off. It's probably not going to be a surprise to anyone, and because I've picked his models more than once. But I guess that's what happens when you're, really really good friends with a really good modeler. It's hard not to. But Kenneth Childress's 1/48 scale Easy 8 Sherman, if you were. It's kind of like the small version of Spud's 1/16 scale Easy 8. It's got the improvised armor on it, and that was a shelf queen from a long I think a while ago, like maybe a couple years ago, and he pulled it out the other day and was like, I'm gonna paint this. And so he has. And yeah, it's really cool. I love his work. Me and Jackson and Zach went to dinner last night, and we were talking about it, of immense other conversation. And yeah, I love Kenneth's work. I don't know, to me it's just a good blend of realism and with a little bit of stylized stuff to it. It's not just flat, one color paints highlights and shadows, but also not as punchy as a lot of people do, and blends that in with just absolutely beautiful weathering. And I don't know, it's a good combination. And I have two of his models in my collection, so I get to look at them all the time. But yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's a great choice. I really, really like the modeling, and with a lot of our friends, Sam Dwyer, just so many of them. They'll put a model out there, and you look at it, and this one was a shelf queen. Justin Lentz is really good for this. He brings it back out to work on it again. And you're like, why did that get shoved aside? It's just amazing. And Ken, man, and I think, as much as I like his construction and super detailing, I like his finish even more, like TJ said. So I can't wait to see where this thing ends up.
Yeah, me too. And as a quick aside, though anyone that knows Kenneth knows that he doesn't really display any of his models, but he's in the process of renovating his work area, and one of the things he wants to do is have a model display somewhere where he can display models. Because I told him that's good, because I have two of yours, so you have to have one of mine. I have to give you at least one of mine. And I told him that that's not a promise, that's a threat, which he thought was pretty funny.
Okay, so for me, a bit like TJ, I'm pretty sure I've picked this guy's work multiple occasions, but it's kind of hard not to. John Bryan's Kinetic 1/48th BAE Harrier GR3. Yeah, John just does really, really clean work. His builds are always like 10 out of 10. They're always well constructed. His paintwork is just really nice. Always really smooth. I don't know if he polishes his paint, but it always just looks just very well done. He's at the decal stage now, and we all know the best type of Harrier is a BAE Harrier. It's got the nice roundels on, and it's white and grey. I love that.
Yeah, very
Such
distinctive.
such a nice camouflage scheme for it. And I'm not a massive Harrier fan, but seeing it in the white and grey with the British roundels, like it's just like, yeah, that's a beautiful build. That's a beautiful aircraft. And yeah, anyone who follows John's work just knows anything he produces is going to be really good.
Yeah, he
It's
does pretty good. He does pretty good for his, as easy as building aircraft is. He manages. He manages.
Yeah.
Yeah, he every post by him is like, you just enjoy looking at the work. It's so good. And then you read his description and you just want to fight with him every time. Oh, this model really sucks. I hate it. This one's not working out to my expectation. And you're looking at it and going, oh, okay, man. Okay. Just really, really terrific. It reminds me of I think I mentioned in the last special episode, I actually got to not only see, but to judge Peter Fidlotsky's Tempest, Edward Tempest, and he hand painted all the markings on it. But Jensen, your comment about John's airbrush work, Peter's airbrush work, you can, I swear you can still see the grain in the plastic on the parts. I mean, the color is so smooth and so just beautifully applied.
Yeah. There's a lot of good modelers in that group.
Yes. When I messaged Peter when they had the award ceremony and Justin collected the gold medal for him, and he didn't believe me. He thought I was giving him crap about it. I'm like, no, man, you want a gold medal? Let me get you a picture. Anyway, he's terrific, and John, get back to the Harrier. I love Harriers. I'm not sure why I've never built one, but I think Harriers are really cool. I like British ones. I like the AV8Bs. I just like Harriers. They're cool.
I like Harriers for one reason: True Lies.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
Because I've said this before, and I'm going to say it again, and you can fight me over it. True Lies is Arnold's best movie outside of Terminator 2 and Predator, because those are just iconic, culturally iconic, right? Like they're not even that's not really like it to me anyways. That's not even really like an Arnold movie. Like it's freaking Predator, right?
Yeah.
And it's Terminator. That's okay. But I think of like Arnold movies, True Lies is the best one. I love that movie. I think it's hilarious. I think that might have been like the first time he did like action or a comedy with the action. If I'm not, maybe not the first one, but it's definitely the best. It's a good blend. I mean, Tom Arnold's great in that movie. Um, oh, who played his wife? No, Jamie Lee Curtis. Oh
yeah.
my God.
Yeah,
so hot. She was so hot back then.
That was I think it was Tom Arnold's best movie too. He was flat out hilarious in that movie.
God, it was so oh God, I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
Sorry. I had to get that. I just had to say that.
I mean
that's why, because he flies a Harrier in the climax of the movie.
Yeah. That's a really cool scene, really good effects. But yeah, I think Terminator 2, you got to give that an asterisk for sure. And like you said, Predator. But yeah, True Lies is definitely up there. I think it was really good.
Well, I mean, Terminator 2 is it's the greatest science fiction action movie ever made. Just better. I'm sorry, it's better than Aliens. And I love Aliens so much. But as a movie, I think Terminator 2 is better. And that might be blasphemy, especially as much as I love the Alien franchise. But yeah, it's if not, it's close. It's like they're like right here, right? Like it's like, oh, okay.
It gets pretty tough when you're talking Blade Runner, Terminator 2, Aliens. I mean, those are all just really good, solid films. But
well, I mean, is Blade Runner really an action movie though?
I mean, it's an action movie with a soul, but yeah, I
it's
don't know,
got
maybe
some, but like
not in the same way. Yeah,
Terminator 2 level action, where like that
yeah,
is straight up, that's an action movie, right? Like
yeah,
the motorcycle chase with the big rig and all the gunfights, and then the the other
yeah,
chase at the end of the movie. Like there's definitely action in Blade Runner for sure, and Blade
yeah,
Runner is an amazing movie. It's one of the best movies ever made.
yeah,
But I in a very tight genre science fiction action movie is Terminator 2. So good. And the extended version's even better.
yeah.
So it's so good.
Yeah, I think it's like in the way that Aliens wasn't the same movie as Alien. Like Aliens more of a horror film, but yet Jim Cameron unleashes aliens on us and it was like wall to wall. It
Oh,
never let
A-
up.
Aliens is an action movie for sure. And
Yeah.
Alien is a horror movie,
Yeah.
just straight up, just in space. It's a
One of the
monster
one of
movie
the
in
best
space.
one of the best horror movies ever made.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
I I just love how this has been the greatest tangent from what models did we like from the group.
This all
Let's talk
came from
movies.
That's
this all
okay.
came from John Bryan. I love it.
Yeah.
We went from his Harrier to Peter Fidlowski down to action movies. So great job, John.
I mean, we can rope it in with modeling too, because
Absolutely.
our buddy Luther Davies, who we interviewed years ago at this point, a very talented figure painter, like Warhammer stuff. We're friends on Facebook, and we've chatted a few times here and there. He was posting movies he was watching, and he was like, tonight's movie is The Evil Dead, the original Evil Dead," which I'm like,
Oof.
that right there, that is the best horror movie in this man's opinion. I love The Evil Dead and Evil Dead
Wow.
2. Evil Dead 2 is, it's close, but yeah, Evil Dead. Oh, damn, that's such a good movie. And made by a bunch of like 20-year-olds, right?
Yeah.
Like Sam
Yeah.
Raimi made that movie with his friends in the woods, essentially, for like pennies on the dollar.
Well, and you can't leave Army of Darkness out. I mean, and it's not as good as a horror movie, but my goodness, that's
Oh
a
yeah,
fun watch.
I love I love Army of Darkness. I was Ash from Army of Darkness for Halloween one time. I made the costume myself, and it was a good costume. I wish I still had it. With the ripped shirt and I had a shotgun, a shotgun.
Your boomstick, come on.
My
It's your
boomstick, I didn't.
boomstick.
It was plastic. I didn't buy it from S Smart, but it was close enough. And I had a chainsaw hand that I made out of a toy chainsaw. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I swear this podcast is about modeling.
Jensen, bring us back around.
Well,
Man.
so Scott, what did you like in the posse group?
So I'm going to cheat a little bit, and I like the post, but I actually got to see the model Thursday in person. Like all models, they always look better in person. But Rich Magoni, who is a great modeler here in Utah, good friend, he loves to do little tiny, mostly 1/72 scale aircraft and armor. And he did a little, let's see, the kit is 4Art. I think is a new company. And he did their new Humber Mark IV armored car. And man, this thing, he did shipping in 1/72 scale. It's in scale. He did a dust gradient from the ground up to the top of the car to the turret that's graduated. And I mean, just for the size of the model, the weathering and finish was just really, really terrific. You can see it on the posse. It's a really nice little build, a really nice little kit. But yeah, that's the one I liked, was Rich Magoni's 4Art Humber Mark IV.
Very nice. So, I'm going to lead us into our discussion topic. So, with us well and truly into 2025, and I want to know what we're all doing to keep things fresh. We've all heard that very cliche expression of "New Year, New Me." But what are we doing differently than last year? Are there any specific changes, or are we going to just keep doing what we've been doing? And I'll kind of start us off with that, because I know last year I would consider it a very lackluster, not very productive, stagnant year. And that's one issue I really mentally try and combat, is when things get stale or I find them a bit dull, is I really need to do something to like spice it up, to reignite that enthusiasm. So just keep doing things over and over again doesn't do it for me. So this year Might not look it on camera, but I completely gutted this room, like floor to ceiling. Everything was taken off the shelves, everything ripped out the drawers, got rid of anything that was like, just why am I keeping it? Because I've got a really bad habit of that might be useful for something sometime ever. So went through all the drawers, disposed of anything that I could sit. I can buy it again, don't need it. So a lot, like 3 bags of like rubbish was just gotten rid of. Everything very cleanly reorganized. I even went through every bottle of paint on my shelf. Anyone who has seen my paint shelf knows how long that would have taken. Anything that's dried up or not good anymore, because that can happen. That was all gotten rid of. So I've keeping stock of all my paint, all my tools. Buying new tools was always nice as well. I always think that really helps the enthusiasm, getting new tools. So because you're like excited to use them on new projects and planning ahead for the year. So as we talked about earlier, I got that Edward order in, starting the year off with a buddy build with Steve and TJ. I am actually doing this first build. I'm going to document it all, so it's going into the photo booth and edit the photos and be all proper stuff like that. But as much as I like to say, oh no, I don't plan ahead. I go with the flow and just see what build takes my fancy. This year, I'm not doing that. I've genuinely set aside a pile of kits that I want to get done this year, which last year I would have said that's the worst thing you can do because you put the pressure on yourself, like that's a pile of stuff that needs to be done because you've told everyone it needs to be done and you've told yourself it needs to be done. I learned I require structure and I need to be told what to do. So I have a pile of stuff that's going to be done for this year, projects for certain shows. I know which shows I'm going to, trips, plan them well in advance. So this year's going to be very structured, very regimented, very organized. And that's, I think, and I'd like to hope, is what's going to really help me have a much more productive 2025. But how about you guys?
Yeah, that's interesting you say that. If you guys are following Matt McDougall and
Mm-hmm.
see kind of what he's doing something on that deep of a level, 3D printing shelf organizers and gutted his entire area and redoing it, and in 2024, I didn't necessarily start out with that intention. Whenever you take your model, your area out and put in a new bench, I mean, that's sort of the foundation of everything else around it, right? And so for me, it ended up being exactly what you said, reorganize the paints, tried to put some thought into where tools were, where paints were, so that I could easily kind of, get to them and everything. And I think with the exception of trying to relearn a system that was 10 years comfortable, I think that's been a big success for me. But yeah, I think that's a good way to springboard you into 2025, Jensen.
I'm gonna do something similar to Jensen because him and we've been talking about it a lot, and I'm also gonna. I normally don't plan my builds out, but I kind of am this year. I'm not gonna like be like slavishly devoted to it. Like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. If I lose steam, I lose steam, because that stuff happens. I want to try to be a realist about it, but I want to set like actual, not necessarily goals, because that's kind of goofy. Like it's not a goal to like get this one model done, but there's things that I want to build and I want to like challenge and really it's coming down to like challenge myself to do things that I don't normally do, right? Like I've built a ton of armor in sci-fi and all that stuff, and I built a couple of aircraft. So most of what I want to do this year is aircraft because I want to get better at it. I'm decent at it, I think, but my experience is limited. I've only built a handful, so that's why I want to build the A-20G because it's 1/32nd scale. It's a twin engine bomber. I've never done anything like that. I've done a jet and like 2 single engine fighters in various scales, outside of like some other really like tiny stuff. Yeah, and kind of like Scott too. I'm moving out of this area, this cluster F that I currently work in, and really because it's so effed up to the point where I'm just like I don't even want to fix it. I just want to go over there, right? Like it's not
Fatal. It's fatally flawed
it not.
at
I
this
mean,
point.
it's a great setup. I am just disorganized. It's so weird because and I've mentioned this before, but like when I ran work in the field, for my job and all that stuff, like my tools and my material, like I kept all that shit organized like crazy. I was very much into organization, like from the very beginning, because when I started as a helper in the trade, I organized everything because that was one of the things that if I didn't have anything to do, I'm going to go organize, right? If someone didn't say, hey, go do this, I just made myself busy because it made the day go by faster and would go organize. And you didn't have iPhones back then, so it's not like I could just like play on my phone all day. So that kind of like, you know, got ingrained into me. And then when I started, had my own tools and I had a truck full of tools, like I wanted all that crap organized so I knew where everything was. So it would make it easier to do my job. And I does not bleed over into my personal life. Not with anything here. Like there's
Yeah.
a vague organization to it, like where I know where stuff is, but not because makes the most sense for it being there. It's just I know that I've remembered that's where it is. And I know you guys know, like I lose crap all the time. I think maybe the last time I was building a machining creator kit, I'm like, I lost all my decals. I have a bag full of spare decals. I have no clue where it is. It couldn't have gone far because they don't go anywhere other than this room. It's freaking gone. Oh, I found it. It was like right in front of me, but there was something on top of it that I didn't move.
Yeah, when
So
me and Jackson were there and we were like borrowing stuff while you were in bed and we were doing some modeling, we went into your room and we're just like, how the did you find anything? It's just
I just know where it is. Yeah, it's not a good system. It's really not. And kind of like what I want to do, I want to move to the other side. For one, there's more light, more natural light over there because I'm going to be right in front of the one window. And I'm going to build a desk. I've already looked into it. It's going to cost me a couple $100. It's not going to be hard. I'm going to build a floating desk with butcher block, like, and a couple of legs, right? Like, that's a legit weekend project. The hardest part's gonna be getting the butcher block down into my basement because it's like a 2x4 along the wall, and then a couple of posts I'm gonna build out of pipe, and I do pipe for a living, so that's the easy part. And it'll be on the other side, and then I'm just going to strategically move the stuff that I need, to do what I'm working on over there, and just kind of leave this the way it is, and slowly, because it's too overwhelming to do it all at once.
Yep.
And so I'd like to reorganize my stash too because it's a mess. I kind of had it organized, and then I added the fourth shelf, and it kind of threw everything off. So I want to do that. And with all of this gone, I can probably get rid of. I have 3 desks. I could probably get rid of one of these desks, keep the other 2 over here as like spare, just in case. Like if my kids are in the basement with their friends or whatever, I don't feel like listening to them. I can just come over here, or like when their friends are spending the night. But yeah, that I'm gonna do this year.
nice.
Hopefully.
I think that'll be great. Like I said, I think it just inspires a different approach. For me, it really, I'm not going to say it forces you, but it kind of forces you to take another look at why why are those paints there? Why are the oil washes there? I'm always reaching for them. Why is it in a place that doesn't make sense? And, for me, you guys give me a little bit of teasing about, I'd lay all the tools out on my desk. Well, what happened was all my tools took all my room. And so I have this little, not, like Hungry Man TV dinner sized area to build in is all I have left because I have tools everywhere. And so that was sort of the initial impetus. And then Josh Buck, my buddy, he's got a lot of experience with wood, and I use butcher block like you, TJ, but I use the entire thing for my bench top, and that worked out really, really good. So I think I've really enjoyed it as a working surface for it and everything. But yeah, I think it'll stimulate builds and have you maybe look at different ways and different things. I think all of us seem to be, I don't know, evolving. Our projects are evolving, and the way we approach it are evolving. And so why shouldn't our time at the bench evolve? You know what I mean? Why shouldn't we make changes there too?
Oh, it's funny you just mentioned the modeler's paradox. No matter how large your desk is, you reduce your working area to a 10 by 10 inch square. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I do the same thing. At one point, all 3 of my desks were completely clear, and it did not take long until I was working in a space this big. Sometimes it gets to the point where I just work, and I think JB's mentioned this too. I just put the box on my lap and work over the box. Right, and just set my tools on the bench. Like I don't even put the shit that I'm working on the bench. I just hold everything.
What makes that funny to people that are listening to this is we can see TJ's area behind him, and you can't see it, but there's nothing clean or clear about
No,
those
there's not. There
desks
is not
at all.
There's not a there. There's a little bit of space where I'm actually. It's a little. there's stuff over there, but there is room to work. I will like right here, like it's kind of hard to see because of the bright lights. Like that's my workspace. It's shining so bright because I have the instructions for the Edward stuff, like the brass and stuff. They're white, so they're like folded out and they're reflecting light. There's actually a fair amount of room to work because I have a giant wet palette. Well, I moved that off because I'm like, I'm not paint. I don't need this right now. Like, why is it on my desk? It's like
Yeah.
12 by 10. Like, it's huge. So I put it. I have like a rolling shelf under my desk, like with drawers. I just put it on top of that. But no, like and I got this idea from John. Moving my paints away from the bench was like one of the smartest things I feel like I did. They're in an old dresser over here, which is what his dresser I think is in the closet in his modeling room.
Yeah.
I have an old dresser that came out of my kids' rooms. We didn't get rid of it because it's nice, and we may in case they wanted to use it. So we saved it, and it holds all my paints. And uh, to me, I feel like it kind of helps. It helps declutter my desks shockingly because I only get the paints out that I need instead of like, oh, I'm going to use this one and I set it down. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to use this one and I set it down, and then I don't put them back. Like here, like I force my it to me. It's easier to force myself to get if I have to go get a paint to get up to go get a paint. I'm like, well, just take the paint you're not using with you. You're making a trip over there anyways.
Yeah.
Don't make two trips. And I've actually gotten really good about that. And that's where I keep all my weathering stuff too, all my enamels and the oils aren't there in a drawer over here. But and then also in that same dresser, I put all my figures because the boxes all fit, so they're all over there. So they're kind of not because the figure boxes are all really small. They don't really fit on these big shelves. Yeah, it's
Yeah, I
kind of
think
like a diversion there.
no, I think pulling paints and things like that, I've got a wall rack I built, from piece of plywood and getting those up and off your bench, I think that's huge. And then just trying to keep, in my case, trying to keep, stuff put away, like you said, when you're done using that odd pair of tweezers that you rarely use, put them back, so you don't have to model in something the size of a Rubik's cube.
Yeah. I will say, kind of going back to the theme, the topic discussion, and I know I've mentioned it before, like I'm going to build, and I have been building slower and painting slower and finishing slower because I think I personally got to the point of diminishing returns where I could get a lot of stuff done quickly, but it wasn't going to be any better than it was before, right? And I am of the belief that speed is a limiting factor on how good the thing you do ends up. Not as like a hard and fast rule, but as a generality, that's I think pretty like because some stuff just takes time, right? Hairspray chipping just takes time. You can't rush it because if you rush it, then it's not going to be as good. Detail painting takes time. You you can kind of rush it, but at the end of the day, like if you're painting a bunch of details on something like and they're small, like you can only go so fast or you're just gonna put paint all over everything. That kind of stuff. And even I'm not nearly as bad as some people when it comes to time between painting and decals and clear coats and all that stuff, but I do at least take some time and I supplement that with a hair dryer. I'm not one of these people that's like, I need this gloss has to stay on here for 3 days before I do anything. No, I'll wait an hour or so, but I'll hit it with a hair dryer to cure it faster. And I don't have any problems doing that. So there is some stuff you can hurry on, but just actual and building too. Like you only build stuff so fast, right? And not make mistakes. It's just that's reality. If they're little tiny pieces, and we're not robots, like you're gonna make mistakes anyways, and you just limit those mistakes if you just slow down. I've noticed that in my own modeling. I find less pieces that I missed a mold line on, or I didn't clean up enough of that sprue gate enough, like because I just like, okay, cool. This part sucks. I hate doing this, but if I take a little bit extra time, it makes it look way better. And I started that last year, and I'm kind of leaning more into that ethos this year. And like with the stencils on the MIG, like there's a lot of stencils, and I could just slam all those out in like an evening for the most part. But I'm like, no, I'm gonna do this little chunk here. I'm gonna like look at the draw, the little drawings that you get that has the placements. I'm like, I'm gonna do this wing and this part of the fuselage tonight. That's all I'm going to do. It's like 30 decals. And then I'm going to go do something else, or I'll work on something else, or I'll go play video games or whatever.
Welcome to the obstinately slow modelers club.
I'm not going to be that slow.
Yes,
I still want to
seriously.
finish things.
Seriously, yeah. My issue is the other side of that. Just overthinking everything and just going slow. Really, really slow. But yeah. Just I think
Yes.
that's great. I think you're modeling, like you said. I think there's a lot of little things that you've done differently, and it's not a criticism of what you were doing before, because I've always admired your work, but I see a different approach and I see different results, and it might be something like the way you're painting a panel, or like you said, the way you're removing a mold line from something. But I've definitely seen it change and evolve, and I think it's worked out really well.
Thank you.
He's all right.
Hasn't worked out for Jensen. His models will suck.
Yeah. What do you mean? I don't build models.
Jeez.
You better build this Wildcat, or I'm going to slap you. You're about as far as
Oh,
long as I am. Wow. Holy.
Yeah.
Get
So
that.
keep doing that. Don't stop doing that.
I know. The problem is, I said problem. Sorry to anyone listening. I just turned my camera to the bench to actually show I was modeling. I get wrapped up in annoyingly trying to remove mold lines from places that are impossible to see, and I'm like, I'm now investing too much time in a not important area. This cockpit, for example, where the floor panel / feet rests, because it's not just a flat panel. There are mold lines on like the outsides of it, which would fit against
On the rudder pedals?
No, on the. Let me grab the bit. On that bit.
Oh,
I know you're doing that.
dude, you
the
can't
resin
see any of that.
Exactly.
Like
So
literally.
I'm removing mold lines from the side of it, and it's just like those bits get glued to the fuselage inner walls. Why am I bothering to like scrape or sand? I'm just investing time and energy into something that I understand the whole, oh, if you don't see it, it's not important. And that is absolutely true for 99% of things. But yeah, I'm just investing for some reason unnecessary energy into something that does not matter. And later on, I'm like, oh yeah, I could have saved like an hour cleaning up all these parts because it gets buttoned up. And the Wildcat FM F4, it's quite a pokey little cop. It's small, it's tight inside.
So you can't see there.
Yeah, so I need to just be like, okay, you don't need to clean the mold lines off the rudder pedals or the rear of the instrument panel because you can't see it. So just do the important stuff. Do what can be seen because I am investing too much. And then I wonder why sometimes like, oh, I feel like I've been working on this part for ages. That's why.
I remember when we've had Spencer on, he's talked a lot about that. There's, where he has deadlines and projects, there's areas that you just can't see. So he doesn't really have the time to spend on those items. And I think Martin's talked about that a little bit as well, and other people too. And so I don't know if it's, I think it's maybe efficiency, just, realizing what you don't need to spend time on. And
Yeah.
I do the same thing. You build something with an engine and you're not going to open the engine compartment, but you build the engine anyway. It's like, why am I going to do that? There's other things to do.
Yeah. I mean, just with the Wildcat, I mean, there is no reason, honestly, to use this 3D printed cockpit, like, because you can't see it. Once you close that thing up, like a man barely fits in there, right? Like it's like shoulder width to look inside there, and then it it's really rounded, so anything on the side you can't see anyways. It's gonna look good in pictures though. That I can tell you. When I paint this thing and take pictures of it before I put it in, it's gonna look awesome. Yeah, it's annoying.
That's weird. That it's another thing I've dictated to myself. Is like, okay, whenever I'm building aircraft, they're going to be wheels down. I don't do in flight. They're all going to be canopy open, and it's why I've bought is it Trace masks from Edward.
T-face.
That's it. I'm going to paint rather than just paint the interior color on the outside of I'm going to mask the inside of the canopies as well. That's something I always used to be a bit lazy on. Like, I didn't even used to do canopy open. I used to do closed canopy on the ground, so all that cockpit work couldn't be seen anyway. But canopy open, paint all the framework properly. I know it's only a small detail, but it actually makes a massive difference when you see like these really nice aircraft at shows, and they have like the edge of the canopy work painted and the inside painted as well. It's like it really does separate it from those who haven't done that. And yeah,
But so with the Wildcat specifically, you really only need to do the front windscreen
yes,
because the canopy slides back over the top of the
hmm
fuselage. You literally can't tell.
yeah. The Mustang Mark III I've got, that one. That one like folds down from the side because it's the birdcage version. So it's like framework, like a bit like a door. And how that one opens is like absolutely, yeah. That
Oh yeah, and
you will see all
any
of
kind
that.
of jet that does that, or yeah,
Hmm
any kind of canopy that opens to the side or up or whatever. But in my opinion, this is just my opinion. If that slides back over the back of the fuselage, who cares? Because you can't tell.
hmm
You literally,
Yeah.
it's over the, I don't know. It's not even like you can see through the other side because it's over the spine.
hmm
I'm
Yeah.
gonna add in to something because I think that it was part of my answer to your original question, Jensen, and that's going crazy on detail parts. I mean, sometimes I feel like I'll only speak for myself. I buy detail parts that I don't need to buy, because they look really great or whatever. But like TJ said, you throw it down on the inside of a radial engine fighter, or even worse, an inline engine fighter in the case of an aircraft, or interior bits on an armor that's going to be buttoned up, is like, why am
Mm,
I doing that? By all means,
yeah.
I'll continue to use a metal barrel and metal tracks or whatever, but a lot of detail. I have a Tamiya Comet that I'm stalled out on, and the reason is because I bought more detail parts. It cost me more money for the detail parts I bought than the kit, and so it's like, and
hmm
then you find yourself carving up kit pieces, and at the end of the day, when paint's on it, doesn't I don't really know how much of a difference it makes.
Yeah. I've got the same kit, and in I can't remember if it was Omaha or Texas, San Marco, but Jackson was with me as I bought all the T-Rex stuff for the Comet.
Yeah.
Metal barrel,
Yeah,
literally
I remember that.
yeah,
Clown.
literally everything available. And then I'm just like, I I know what you mean because sometimes I'll do that. I'm just like, is all this effort worth it? For a lot of the things, I do think it is, but I need to remember sometimes out of box is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I get
Uh,
I bog myself down, and even before I've even got the kit, I'll spend
yeah.
hours online looking at a kit I want or kit I have, investing all this time and energy into looking for the aftermarket. It's like just build it.
Yeah. Well, in the
Just
case of the Comet, I bought an Aber barrel for it, and I'm using the Tamiya parts. And the reason is because if I would have spent 10 seconds and looked at it, the barrel's one piece, so there is no seam that you got to go down and fill
Mhm.
like a lot of them. But the Aber muzzle brake is, I don't like it. I don't like the way that it breaks down, and there are brass parts that make up the muzzle brake, and there's a seam there, and really the only way to do that right would be to fill it with solder and sand it. I mean,
Mm.
literally. And so I ended up using the Tamiya parts for that, and a bunch of the small parts, the T-Rex parts that I bought, they're just in the box and they're not going to end up getting used. And so it's awesome to make your build better, but I think for me only, I tend to overthink things anyway. And so unless it's an engine intake screen or a set of metal tracks or something that really has an impact on your build, I think it's a great way to stall yourself out and send a kit to the shelf of doom.
Absolutely. I do it all the time.
I mean, like on the FM2 I'm doing, yeah, a lot of because I didn't build the first Wildcat out of box. I use some stuff like the wheels and the gun barrels because they were really nice, better than the plastic ones. But other than that, it was more or less out of box. This one, I don't know. I just kind of wanted to, really, like I just like just to say that I could, even though it doesn't even really involve that much modifications, cutting some stuff off. The hardest thing, I think the most difficult part that I'm gonna do is add the gun bays, just because I think it's really cool. I want to show the Brownings inside, and just to me, it's like another painting and weathering opportunity. Yeah, but I generally agree. Like a lot of times, it doesn't make any difference. I got the aftermarket, the brass and engine for the MiG 21, and you can't see it.
No.
Like, unless you put a flashlight, a torch in the tailpipe, you literally can't see it. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, it looks really cool. Like, it was fun to build. It looked nice. It does look nicer than the plastic, but you also can't see it. So who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. Like on that, I bought that Maz Prime Mover and it's got rubber tires, which I just really don't like to paint and stuff. So I got resin tires, but that's going to be a big hitter item. That's a, big visual impact and save yourself time. But yeah, little, especially photo etch and a lot of little stuff that you won't see. It's just a way to add complexity to your build and probably make it so I won't finish it. So anyway, I think that's my answer, Jensen. I'm going to go with that. Don't overcomplicate something. JB is the master of getting things done, and he was talking to me about it. But he's like, yeah, man. Sometimes you just need to just open the box and build the model. You
Simple
don't
as
need
that.
to,
Yep.
yeah. Don't need aftermarket decals and aftermarket this and that. Just open it up. Take that's one of the things I truly love about besides what the reason why we do it, the 48-hour group build that we do, because you sit down and you build a model and you get it done. And
don't have time to think.
yeah, I mean, if you run into a roadblock, you go around it, and the idea is get it done. And I think that's pretty healthy once in a while, not all the time, but I think once in a while it's a good approach.
No, absolutely. Okay, well, thank you both for your very wonderful input into that. Now let's head over to TJ for some cross promotion.
Alrighty, the Plastic Posse is just one of several great scale modeling podcasts. If you are interested in more scale modeling content, you can head on over to modelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to many other great podcasts about our hobby. The Posse also recommends several excellent modeling blogs and vlogs, such as Rick Lawler's Propaganda YouTube channel, Clayton Ockerby's Workbench Hobbies channel, Stephen Lee's Sprue Pie with Frets, Chris Wallace's Model Airplane Maker, and David Bryan Bridges' DB Scale Model Studio blog.
Awesome. And I'm going to talk about real quick a couple of model shows that are coming up soon. Dave Mason from the Mid-Michigan Model Makers reached out to talk about their 40th show that's going to happen February 1st. That's in Saginaw, Michigan. And he says they've used the open gold, silver, bronze system for most of the 40 years of contests they've done it. So that's kind of cool, a little bit different. And since COVID, he said they usually are getting around 500 models on the tables. And you can find more information about the show at Mid-Michigan Model Makers Contest. Just Google that and you'll get more information. Also on February 1st, Rich Cap emailed us with information about IPMS Fresno's upcoming Sprue Bowl show. And that runs from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Portuguese Hall of Fresno, which is located at 172 West Jefferson Avenue there in Fresno. It's a long-running show, and this is the second edition of what they are calling the Sprue Bowl. A quick note about my show, the Rocky Mountain Expo here in Salt Lake. We had a little bit of a hiccup with our venue, and by hiccup I mean we're in a Air National Guard venue, and they decided that they were going to take our weekend for Air National Guard business. I guess they're allowed to do that since it's their facility. So we're bumping back to our regularly scheduled. It's just a 1 week change. So instead of the 14th and 15th of June, it'll be the 21st and 22nd of June this year. And this year we're going from a 1 day to a 2 day show. It's going to be much bigger, much better. We're going to have a lot more seminars. It's going to be really, really terrific. So if you're thinking about coming out to that, you can reach out to me, or you can check out Rocky Mountain Expo. Just Google that or look at it on Facebook, and you can find information on that show. Well, we have an interview for this episode, and Grant and I recently had a chance to sit down and have a really good conversation with Joe McClain, who is the CEO of a nonprofit organization here in the USA. It's called Help Hill Veterans, and a lot like our Models for Heroes partnership, they do kind of a similar thing where they're using modeling and also some crafts, some leather crafting and other things to help veterans with whatever they're struggling with. Joe gave a presentation at the Madison Nationals on their organization, and I think you're going to really be impressed with Joe and also his dedication to helping veterans out. So here's this interview, and hope you like it. Welcome into another Plastic Posse podcast interview. Today we have something very, very special. I've also got my good friend, Mr. Grant Mayberry, here with me. How you doing tonight, Grant?
I'm doing good. Raining here in Southern California, at least my part. So the streets are crazy. So
Yeah, nothing like a little moisture to make a fun commute even more fun.
oh yeah.
Well, tonight, as I mentioned, we've got kind of a special interview lined up. Really excited to welcome in the CEO of Help Heal Veterans, Joe McClain. Joe, welcome to the posse.
Thanks, Scott. So happy to be here.
Well, we are excited to have you here. This has been something we've been working on for a couple of months, and I guess it all kind of started. I saw that you had done a presentation at Madison, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. We weren't there, but what I saw really rang true to me. As our listeners know, mental health is something that we openly embrace, that we try to talk about as openly as we can. And there are groups and people in our community that we try to take care of, and that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm very, very excited. So let's kind of start out a little bit with who is Joe McClain, and then maybe leading into sort of what is Help Heal Veterans and how did that get started?
Well, great. So I am CEO of Help Heal Veterans, like you said there, Scott. And I am a career military kind of guy before I got to the nonprofit space. And like a lot of folks who are probably your veterans out there, a lot of members and listeners, I come from kind of a military family. My granddad who was with an all-black unit in World War II. My dad was in the Army for 30 years. I was an Army brat, went to high school in West Berlin when there was a West Berlin. Uh, Had to be like the bad guy, preacher's kid, I guess. You got to be semi-bad. So I went to the Navy. So I went to the Naval Academy and ended up flying for the Navy for many years. Was a squadron commander and a wing commander. Had 7 different deployments on various aircraft carriers. Flew the S-3B Viking, of which there's some great models out there of it. All my airplanes, like a lot of old guys now, are all up on sticks now. So happy. You go to any kind of naval museum, you'll probably see one there up on a stick. And then I went into the beer industry for a few years, doing basically being a beer lobbyist. Beer is good, taxes are bad, but kind of got called back to service and got hired on to be the CEO about Help Heal Veterans about 9 years ago. Before I go to a little bit more about Help Heal Veterans, I'll say a little bit something about how being doing models as a young middle schooler kind of got me on my career path. So I remember my first model was a model of the PT 109, and when I built that, and I think I was like in 7th grade or so, yeah, I was pretty proud of it. It wasn't all that great, putting some glue on it a little bit too long, so trying to melt some of the parts together, But hey, that's kind of how you learn. But I was always enamored of being an Army guy, or an Army kid. The Navy always had kind of an allure to me. I mean, those stories, and I remember doing models of like the Corsair, and the Wildcat, and the Hellcat, and studying about big naval battles, in World War II, and doing some models along that line to kind of follow that more so than the Army stuff. Although I had a few of those too I built, but I think that kind of informed me, and I think that's kind of why models are. And I'll get to why models are so a big piece of kind of what we encourage our veterans to do, and a big piece of what we do. And it has to do that subject matter, that celebration of service. Now, getting back to what I do now, so Help Heal Veterans, we've been around since 1971. And our mission is basically using creativity to heal the invisible wounds of war. And what we do is we make therapeutic arts and crafts. And we provide those to any veteran or active duty military undergoing health care. And these arts and crafts are used by different providers in different ways to help with the healing process. And to me, it's a tool. It's a very versatile tool that can be applied in different ways. So we are a manufacturer and a service provider. We accept donations of like scale models because we actually don't build those ourselves, obviously. But we do have some pretty cool. You ever seen those laser puzzles? As far as that,
Yeah.
like the M1, the M1 tank and the Apache and stuff like that. We do make those. We have 3 laser cutters there. We'll make birdhouses. We'll make leather goods. We make clocks. We have the jewelry kits. We have leather stuff. We have a whole range of your classic arts and crafts products. But as a manufacturer, what's kind of cool about what we do is we can make what we call Frankenstein products, Frankenstein kits. So like we have a great relationship with Southwest Airlines, and they'll give us used airline seats. And what we'll do is we'll be able to cut those, clean those up, cut them up, and use those as pieces to make wallets for biker wallets or messenger bags and stuff like that as well. And doing all that has me able to upcycle material. We can kind of give a 5-to-1 ROI on the donor dollars. So what we can make and provide, if you were to go out there and buy that kit for a veteran, would cost you about 5 times as much, which is kind of cool. It also allows us to be to make something specifically for a veteran, depending upon what their challenge is. For example, if you got like a an older vet who's really all upstairs mentally, but no longer has those fine motor skills, we can make something with like a bigger hole or bigger needle, which is kind of cool. Or if a therapist says, I need something like a big model, like we made a big model of the Arizona. It was a wood model, that's kind of what we were able to do. But they said, we need something for a group of 5, 6 folks, keep them busy for a couple of days in 2 or 3 hour periods to help them come together as a group. So we're able to kind of provide that. So that's what's kind of cool about what we do. And these kits are used by different therapists in different ways, like I said. So like an occupational therapist may talk about like something to help them with daily living, be able to follow instructions. If you're suffering from a traumatic brain injury, it may be that the docs want you to use something more with fine motor skills and the ability to concentrate and go step by step. If you're looking to do like PTSD, it's something that be creative and express yourself can be help you. Because if I could do this, maybe I could do something a little bit more and kind of and also that mindfulness thing of taking you out of your depression. You guys all know this. When you're building something, you're in it, you're not thinking about those things that are going that you're getting out of that loop in your head that's replaying whatever's bugging you and allows your brain and that spirit to settle a little bit. And it sounds kind of foo-foo, but you guys know it's not. This stuff works, kind of a thing. And, I'll stop right there, but there's a lot of different ways that our kits are used by different therapists in different ways. And oh, by the way, we provide our kits free of charge, and we support the VA healthcare system, DoD healthcare system, as well as a lot of other local nonprofits. Like if we have a small group like in an Elks, like in Appalachia somewhere, we'll send them kits for their own veteran programs because we're never going to get there. So we are very much focused on supporting any other partner who can help us do our job to serve our mission.
That's incredible. I mean, just I love this so much. I mean, the fact that as we were talking before we started recording, the fact that this hobby that we're all passionate about can help people, can literally do good. I mentioned to you that Malcolm Childs and I from Models for Heroes were talking about you, and he says you're good people. So everybody out there, Malcolm recommends him. But the fact that we can use this hobby to help people that we owe a debt to. I mean, first of all, they're our brothers and sisters, and we need to help people anyway. But these are people primarily that have served our country, like the two of you. It's just one way that we should, be constantly finding ways to thank people for their services and their sacrifices, and by including them in these kind of activities and allowing them to heal, it's so powerful. I just love it so much. So I'm going to ask you one last thing and then turn you over to my good friend Grant. But maybe how did you find the organization? It's obviously, I mean, I could just tell how passionate you are about it. I mean, I know you've got that military kind of esprit de corps, but maybe talk to me about how you came to this and why it speaks to you so much.
I think like a lot of us who have been part of some type of service in our life, for me, it was military. I have a son who's a police officer. I have another son who's military. I've got like, teachers who are friends, people who's firefighters, cops, everybody. When you're part of something where it's really, you're bigger than yourselves, it's something special. It's something, you give a lot, but I think you give back more through serving. And so having done the whole military career, I went into corporate world. Like I said, I was a president of the Beer Institute And the Beer Institute is a trade association, great folks, and it represents brewers and importers in Washington, D.C., and it's basically tried to create a positive beer environment, a positive business environment for members. These are like, Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch, the Miller Coors guys are now Molson Coors, most of the larger folks, but some craft brewers as well on that. And that was great, but I felt that like anybody else, I think I was missing something. So when I kind of left that job after a few years lobbying, and oh, by the way, my last job for the Navy, I was on Capitol Hill, so I was I was the Secretary of the Navy's liaison and the House Representatives. So I lived in the basement of the Capitol with a bunch of guys, wore suits every day, and we just basically got to, help sell the Navy's message, or at least make more members of Congress aware of what sea power does, for our nation, which I love. I love doing the job and all, and that parlayed into basically being an advocate for beer. And after doing that for a few years, I thought, I kind of want to go back. So I started looking for, work along those lines, and I this opportunity here and back home in San Diego, actually it's home for my wife, in Southern California came up, which is great because hey, I'm a surfer, so I get to come back here to SoCal. And but also what's kind of great is that I can go to work every day obviously trying to find, it's like a business. So you're trying to, stump for cash, you're paying workers' comp, you're doing all the stuff that a business has to do as a nonprofit, but you're also making a product that can make a real difference in folks' lives, like that. And so I think it's just being called back to heal kind of a thing. And, and I was I did scale models, as a youngin', which is great. Fell off of that a little bit, as you got a little bit into work and family and kids and stuff like that. And I still do one from time to time now, but I wasn't what you would call a arts and craftsy kind of guy, kind of thing. Yeah, I like music and stuff like that. I play a little guitar, which is I've always found creativity to be very healing. But when I learned into what we did, learned about what the organization did, I started talking to some of the veterans who have been served by that since '71. Wow. And in some of the stories that our folks would tell, it just kind of amazed me. It really does. And you guys have probably seen it. And, I'll talk a bit about Madison later, but I've heard similar stories there from some of your listeners about how the kits and the hobbyists saved their lives that I hear every day, and kind of what we do and kind of why it works that way. So I don't know. I just think I just could call back to being something bigger than yourself. And I'm blessed enough to kind of have found this job and work with a great board and some great folks. And we try to do the best we can every day for the people who serve.
That's great. I mean, the thing is too, it's kind of funny. We say we have the same background, but totally flipped. My dad was Navy, career Navy.
So he's a smart, good-looking guy. You were telling me.
Yeah, he's just a fantastic-looking guy. Navy submarine guy. He was started in destroyers, went to River Rhine in Vietnam. That he was in nuke boats. He retired as a chief petty officer, chief of the boat. Awesome. We lived everywhere, so everywhere from like Keyport, Bangor, Washington State to Holylock, Scotland, Perth, Australia. I went in the Army. So, because my dad was in the Navy, so I had to go to the Army. So you understand that, and that it's kind of funny that we talk like that because we have this kind of same kind of background, except for I didn't go to the academy. But it's just flipped, and it's interesting how right there it's just there's that connection. So it's great, and we talked about healing effects and the healing effects that the hobby can do. What are some of the healing effects you've seen in your organization that have come from, this hobby and, all these different hobbies? And I like to add real quick, this is not just model making. We're talking about leather goods. We're talking about wood. We are talking about, everything. And there's just, and we'll get your website up here, get your website put up, but you have to go visit this website and just look around, and you will be amazed of what you see. But what are some of the effects you've seen?
I think it kind of gets back to kind of what I talked a little bit earlier there, Grant, is it's such a versatile tool that whatever the clinician, the doc, the therapist is looking for, or just the veteran, or the active military member is looking for, it can kind of help with that. You know, and so that's what's kind of cool. So like I talked about before, let's talk about traumatic brain injury. You know, because that's kind of something that in the last 20 years, and even probably before that, has really we've learned more about it. And I'll just say that, you know, my son is in Naval Special Warfare, so he's a breacher. So, you know, that's something that we talk a little bit about is TBI. You know, and it's just not an IED, a big blast. You know, micro trauma is an issue.
Yep.
And what's really unique about a traumatic brain injury, and is this not for those folks who don't know, any concussion you get is a traumatic is classified as a TBI. So it's basically if your son got hurt in the football field, you know, his eyes were going a little bit spacey, or he lost consciousness, which I would hope that wouldn't happen, but or he was just out for a little bit, he suffered a TBI. It can be very mild, or it can be very severe, which causes some extreme damage. And TBIs are notoriously hard to diagnose because you could put somebody under an MRI and they look great, and they'll send it back. And that's kind of part of the problems we've had with some of our you know, our soldiers and Marines who have suffered repeated concussive blasts. And they say, you know, and you know, with that mentality, a lot of folks like, you know, it is suck it up, Buttercup. Put me back in, coach. You know, I'm okay. I don't want to let my guys down. But you know that if you get repetitive TBI, they kind of build on each other, kind of a thing. And a lot of things that you've seen CTE, which is something where you get these micro tears and micro trauma in the brain, you really can't diagnose that until basically an autopsy for some of the stuff. You know, and it's something that folks are learning more and more about. And I only mention that because a lot of times, which we've learned, is that a TBI can be some of uh, the symptoms of a TBI are the same as a mental health episode, you know, as far as you're depressed, you know, maybe your memory's not quite there, maybe you're quick to anger. And we found, you know, and all of a sudden that leads you to suicide. And you know, for some of our folks, sadly, and what you find out is that, oh, this guy or gal, you know, he didn't have a mental issue. He was actually wounded, you know, and I was just at a Navy SEAL Foundation event a few years ago, and a father of a SEAL who committed suicide a few years after he got back from OEF, I think it was OEF, which is Afghanistan. He basically said, "Hey, well, my son, you know, was killed in Afghanistan, but he died of suicide. You know, basically a few years later. You know what you had, so it was actually wounded. You know, kind of a thing. So I just mentioned that because it's something that it's very hard to diagnose. It's hard to heal. The military's done and the DA's it's gotten a lot better at that now, and they're really on it or try to be on it. You know, there's a lot of stuff in there because you gotta, you know, you still have to train, you still have to get out there, you know, and you still get beat up a little bit, but they're looking for it now. And I only say that because there's a lot of folks, you know, 10, 15 years ago, maybe not so much. So I think a lot of people that we help, and a lot of people who some folks that I met in Madison as well, some of the best I got to talk to there, also they had a TBI, but the military said, "Hey, well, too bad for you. You know, see you later." And now they're out and they're looking for ways to help themselves, you know. And some will gravitate towards those things which are not helpful, like maybe it's drugs, maybe it's they get in trouble with the law, you know, for examples, but they've been hurt, but nobody really knows. But some of them also gravitate towards the hobby.
Right.
And what I heard from a lot of folks out there is literally how the hobby saved their life. And when we were in Madison, I know we're going to talk about this a little later, but we had a panel, and all three folks, they're veterans who were, there was a Marine, a sailor, a CB, and a soldier, and they all had TBI in common. They all did not really get the treatment that they should have gotten. They have gotten out now have been different. And they all had issues and continue to struggle. But they all talked about the hobby and how it literally saved their lives.
Right.
And I'll tell you that panel session was pretty emotional, very heartfelt, and a lot of tears. You know, and I was proud to be a part of that. But it did talk about how the hobby kind of saved them. But TBI was something that was there. So so how we help with that is it could be that ability to concentrate, like we talked about. It could be that fine motor skills that helps the brain heal on that. And it depends on how the doctor therapist wants to use the tool. So sometimes what they'll provide, they'll use our kits as homework. Like they'll come and they will work with like the Intrepid Spirit Centers, which there's some great with the Intrepid Spirit really quick, or something that was helped that they have on some military bases, and these are like almost sci-fi level things to help you heal. You know, they got like a balance machine, lasers they shoot in your eyes, balance machines, all kinds of great stuff. They also have art therapy and yoga and stuff like that. And our kits, you know, some of them like the models that we provide there as well.
Right.
And what they'll a doc may do is either have part of that therapy may be using the kit there with a therapist, or they may send you home. Do this. This is helpful for you. This is something, you know, this is something to help you win those little small battles. You have to get a little bit better every day while you're undergoing the serious treatment, you know, under a doctor's care. So it may be a little bit long-winded, you know, but TBI is something that's very passionate to what we do.
Right.
We have my chairman of my board is Dr. Keith Stussy, and he's founded the concussion care clinic for the Marines in Afghanistan.
Oh, wow.
So he's and he works for DIVBIC, which is basically very much in the TBI research for the military.
Right. Yeah. And, you know, that's, I am a TBI guy. I took an IED in southern Iraq or northern Iraq, bounced my head off of went through a bulletproof window of a Humvee. So I went out for 3 days, woke up in Walter Reed, was again injured in Afghanistan. These early injuries were early, 2000s. So between 2002 and when I retired in 2012, there was such a massive difference in how we were treated as soldiers, as airmen, as everybody. Like you said before, it was like, you're fine, lace up your boots. We've got a mission. We need you on the ground. And then it became where I saw when I finally retired from Fort Hood, what was Fort Hood at the time. There was one of these centers that they basically took me in and said, hey, we need to get you into this. And it ended up being that I did have that problem and I didn't know it. Playing football all the way through college didn't help because I had several concussions there. So, it was just an increase of head injuries to where I am at today. And I can remember one of the first things when I talked to a counselor after I left Walter Reed is, what do you do for a hobby? What do you do? And I was like, I build models. And she's like, perfect. And she said, and like you said, she's like, I want you to do this tonight. I want you to do this tomorrow night. I want you to do this every night. So building on that process is fantastic. And I also like the way, and I don't mean to talk about myself too much.
Please do.
How it's helped me with my PTSD. PTSD is something that is not just from soldiers, or it's from anybody. Anybody can have PTSD. It can happen from a car accident. It can happen from a thousand different kinds of things. And what the modeling does for me is it makes me focus. And when I go into a PTSD, sometimes I'm just scattered. I'm everywhere. I'm trying to do everything at one time. And I can't do it. I'm failing, which is more upsetting. So I go into this rotation. And then if I can focus on one thing like that, it's a fantastic thing. And, these organizations like yours are, what key to people. And people have to remember that this has been going on forever. Every time there's been a war, there's been people with TBIs, there's been PTSD. We're giving names to it. And that's one thing about this, your organization that I found, especially in on your webpage, testimonials from veterans that have been helped. And that's fantastic. If you want to have a tear in your eye, read some of those testimonials. What you do is fantastic in what they do, and what kind of kits if a veteran, hears this and says, I want to try this, what kind of kits do you offer? What kind of things do you offer?
It's kind of like one thing about being, we're manufacturer, but we're not Amazon. So we can't give you, it's kind of like how much, like it's like the old Right Stuff movie, no bucks, no Buck Rogers, So it just kind of depends on what we have for resources. So a lot of what we provide models are one of the things that are our most, and these are all donated models we get. We used to buy them, but we can't afford to buy them anymore. So we found that, within the community, your modeling community, there's a lot of, generous folks. We just got I think, who is it? Chris Sinella from IPMS Region 9 drove
Mhm.
down a couple of weeks ago with a trailer full of models from a member who had passed, and they
Mhm.
got their storage. So we had there's some great stuff there that's going to go pretty quick.
Right.
That, but what they can it's what we try to do is probably try to provide a range of stuff, because it's also we serve all generations of veterans in active duty. So
Right.
and also men and women, rural and urban. So everybody's kind of got
Mhm.
different tastes. And one of the
Mhm.
things that you have to do is you have to be able to complete the kid, but also the magic comes from I'm proud of what I made,
Yeah.
and I can give this to somebody, or I can display it or whatever like that, which raises your self-esteem that way too. So, and I mentioned that because we'll serve everywhere from those the Vietnam, the Korea, maybe
Mhm.
a couple of the World War II vets who are still around, all the way
Mhm.
down to that young 18, sometimes 70-year-old,
Yeah.
Marine soldier. We basically support. We have a good relationship with Army NWR.
Mhm.
So we have a big request we're trying to fill now for kits to support the guys who are forward deployed in Poland as part
Mm.
of warrior resiliency. And
Yeah.
one thing this is something resiliency is something I've kind of learned about recently, but I'm really passionate about it. And that's almost like pre-gaming, your trauma in a way.
Yep.
Like for example, you build models, or
Mhm.
you have some type of hobby like that, and then you can do that mindfulness thing. You have a tool in your toolbox. So maybe when
Mhm.
you experience a little bit of trauma, a little bit of stress, even from combat in your life, you got a tool there ready to go that can help you carry through that. So maybe you don't need professional treatment, because you've been
Right.
able to kind of raise your resiliency up there. So warrior
Mhm.
resiliency is something that's pretty important. And I think the Army MWR is something that they look for. So we try to ship them kits to some of their kits, some of their forts, posts that are where they have a high level soldier suicide, as well as some
Mhm.
of those guys and gals who are forward deployed going out there.
Mhm.
So what we'll do is we'll send things so that gets into kind of what we make.
Mhm.
So if you're a soldier forward deployed, we're not going to send you a birdhouse, because where the hell am I going to put this? I'm in my barracks, or I'm in a tent or whatever. So it may be more leather type of stuff. So it may
Right.
be some are more leather, more smaller kits. Maybe it's a smaller type of a wood kit or something like that. We'll also
Mhm.
make games, like the McCalla game, which is kind of
Mhm.
cool, or things like that we can do with that. Or maybe it's a belt. Maybe we'll give them something they can send out there that they can make, and they can send it back home. One of the
Mhm.
things that we're looking at right now is try to create a military connected child type of program where like a
Mm.
forward deployed soldier, can do a kit, and his family, a child can do the same kit at home, and it gives us something to talk about. Like, yeah,
Oh,
we're doing
wow.
this together. That
Mhm.
whole family bonding kind of a thing. So it's almost what does the customer want? What can we
Mhm.
make?
Mhm.
And then what's cool to make? Because like I said, an 18-year-old, what he might think is cool is not gonna be something that grandpa thinks is cool.
Right.
So,
Right.
so we try to provide as anything that can get creative with, we'll try to provide
Mhm.
going through that. And Grant, thanks for sharing your story on your own
Oh,
struggles. I always or challenges, because
yeah.
it's not you. I think what I really hope that your listeners get out of this is, they are already providing service by being part of the hobby, being part of the community, being able to kind of welcome guys and gals to maybe new into it, and then but
Mhm.
also recognize and run your members, because sometimes it's just like, hey buddy, are you okay? You
Yeah.
know, kind of thing. Ask if somebody's okay, and now you've got somebody who cares, who kind of help you kind of along in your journey, and that's pretty important too. I
Right.
think one of the things that we find,
Mhm.
I talked about TBI, we talked a little bit
Mhm.
about PTSD. There are some other ways unique that we found that being creative in what you do kind of helps the healing process, and some things you really may not think about. So, for example, one is for family bonding.
Mhm.
We've heard anecdotally from a lot of our guys and gals who come back from deployment. I've been gone for 6, 9 months, and I can't talk to my kids anymore because it's hard to reconnect. So, but by
Mhm.
doing a creative activity together, now you're talking. To think about like your soldier back from overseas, and now you've got like your PTO 109 kit, and you're doing that with your son, your daughter,
Mhm.
you know or maybe she's helping you paint, a little bit like that kind of a thing. And now you're all of a sudden
Mhm.
now you're talking a little bit as you go through that, and that kind of helps you to kind of connect in a ways. We have a lot of guys and gals who are homeless, so
Yeah.
they'll find that by doing uh, some types of kits like that we make, it gives them a sense of self-esteem, especially around
Yep.
Christmas. So, okay,
Yeah.
I can make this and I can give this to my friend,
Mhm.
kind of a thing. Maybe I'm making a wall or something like that. I can give that out for that.
Mhm.
Pain management is something also
Yeah.
that you find, that mindfulness thing. We've got a local Army vet here who is a paraplegic,
Mhm.
and you guys all know about the opioid crisis and all that kind of good stuff.
Right.
Does not, he's got that stuff prescribed up the yin yang. Does not like what that does to his body. He'll get up in the middle of the night, and instead of like sucking down the drugs, he'll do
Mhm.
maybe one of our kits or something creative,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden that sense of pain will fade. And if you go on our website, you'll see that we've got some stuff on there from a survey we did in 2018. And it talks about some numbers associated with how many vets say that these kits, they're doing kits, and that can be models too, because our use
Yeah.
kits is kind of a pretty broad category. Helps with my
Right.
PTSD, helps with TBI. 79% said it helped relieve their pain. 70%, that perception of pain,
Mhm.
is all that when you're in chronic pain that way. So it really helps heal in a lot of different ways. And in a couple of stories I'll share with you real quick, because I got a
Mhm.
lot of them. I remember, okay, one of them was going to our local VA here in SoCal, and there was a fairly young lady there who's a veteran who was in palliative care, which is kind of hospice,
Mhm.
type of thing. And she didn't think she was leaving. So she was doing birdhouses kits to leave in the gardens because she wanted to leave a piece of herself behind. And
Yeah.
that helped her cope that I could do something like that. You
Right.
know, I had a young Marine who was at an Intrepid Spirit Center who did a motorcycle model, and he
Mhm.
came up and I was there at the graduation, and this Intrepid Spirit, like I said, is a TBI outpatient clinic
Right.
after 8 weeks, and he came up to me, and he was a big special ops kind of Marine, big guy, tough guy
Mhm.
kind of thing, but you can tell sometimes with a TBI patient they're still a little fragile, you
Mhm.
know, if you know what I mean, because people heal in different ways, you
Right.
know. And he's there with his wife, and he talked about how he had never done anything creative before, but this kind of helped him. And he had some tears in his eyes. This
Yeah.
big Marine was crying at me, about how much he appreciated how this helped him in his
Right.
journey of healing, you know.
Right.
And really quick aside, one of my sound bites is I like to say that what we do, what you guys do in the hobby is a tool to help you win a small battle. And what I mean by that, when you suffer from TBI, PTSD, mental health issue, whatever depression, whatever you're going through right now, or just need to, unload, just to get
Mhm.
off, is that this is not a silver bullet. I'm going to do this and everything's going to be great, rainbows and unicorns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, but you're going to feel a little bit better. It's going to be a small step forward. And there
Mhm.
is no silver bullet. It's a series of small battles, and this is a tool to help you overcome those small battles.
Right.
And
Yeah.
something that I
Yeah.
heard kind of recently that was kind of unique is not unique, but something that was unique to me is I had a female veteran who wrote us, and she was had just had some issues, and she was just leaving an abusive relationship, and she was in a domiciliary, the VA, and she was afraid to leave because she was afraid she might run into her ex. And she'd asked us, "Can you send me something creative to do? Because I'm going crazy here, and I'm all She was getting treatment, obviously,
Mhm.
but she wanted something to do to help her pass the time, to help her kind of deal with the stress that she was going under. While she's going. And she specifically asked for art supplies, so you're able to supply
Right.
that. You know, but that just it kind of didn't really floor me, but it just really how what we do
Mhm.
and what you guys do is such a versatile tool that can be used in different ways.
Mhm.
I've heard stories of if you're faith-based, chaplains will, they'll have somebody come in and talk to them, and and a young soldier, Marine, and try to share, but maybe it's all closed off. But by
Mhm.
doing something to do with their hands, maybe they're talking more. You guys may have seen this in some of your groups,
Yep.
something about doing something together. Now we're chit
Right.
chatting, you're sharing, and a lot of that healing comes from being part of a community and healing as well. So it's
Yeah. You're
what you
correct. I'm
guys
sorry.
do. It's just so versatile. I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing to me how much of a difference something so small can make in somebody's life.
Yeah. It is. I've seen it myself where you'll have a person that's very standoffish at first in a meeting, and we start talking about the hobby and what we like about it, and slowly that person will come into the group, and it's just like, and then they're there, and it's something we see that a lot in this hobby. We see it with our friends in this podcast. We see it with people. We hear it in letters every day, and it's the thing that this hobby does is it brings people uh, out of their shell, I guess
Yeah.
would be kind of a good word to say. It brings them out of their shell because you put them in a group of people, peers, equals, whatever you want to call it, that have a love for something and an interest to do it, and you have that opening of an individual. Military is, as you know, is sometimes it's really rough, and you have to internalize a lot. You especially a lot, and it takes a while for you to trust, to understand, and be a part of something. But once you
Yeah.
do, you give it your 100%. And that's what we see in this hobby every day. You know, I'm just going to ask one more question real quick, and then I'm going to pass it over to Scott because I know he's got questions. It's a little early to ask this. I'm sorry, but what's
Yeah.
the best way we can help? I mean, in this community, what's the best thing we can do? Is it just
I think a couple of ways.
uh-huh.
I think obviously, hey, give me money,
Yeah.
but that, I'm a
Yeah.
nonprofit guy. We just
No,
get that out
no,
of the
that's
way.
please,
But
yeah.
I think more so than that from your membership is
Mhm.
actually donating kits you're not using anymore, or
Okay.
maybe when a member passes on and he's got a garage full of stuff,
Mhm.
that you were looking at what can I do with this? We get some of our best gifts from that way, and that's a great legacy too for
Right.
someone to pass on as
Mhm.
well for that because models are our number one in demand item from our
Right.
veterans, and
Okay.
it's kind of cool that I mean, they're hard to come by, but once we
Yeah.
get them, they're gone. We for that, and the VA is looking for them.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes it depends. Well, I'll take that back. Sometimes I can't use them at certain facilities. We also have to be able to glue and paint and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're in like a hospital
Right.
clinic setting, that can be kind of restrictive. But so we try to
Mhm.
find non-toxic glues and paints and
Mhm.
stuff like that we can use. But I think, I was thinking about this is why are models so in demand? And I think
Mhm.
first off, I think it's first off for our vet, it's a subject matter. You think
Yeah.
about it, it's a lot of the models. Obviously, I'm a sci-fi guy too, so I like the spaceships and the giant robots and stuff like that. But that said, I think it's that the subject matter. I can make something that kind of puts me back into the time when I was proud of what I did. I'm a Bradley guy, so I'm making Bradleys. Or I flew with the Vikings, so I'm all in naval aviation, maybe old stuff. Or I love the Patrick O'Brien stuff, so I'm making sailing ships or whatever. Is that part of that, and that helps you get you into something a very special place. I'll also have put a caution there, sometimes for the subject matter, and that's something I've heard from one of our psych docs, in that you should sometimes, PTSD, a guy is on all the time, on, and they never come down. So I remember we were going to make a little model of an M9 Beretta at one time for out of wood. And the doc said, no, hold on there, Joe, not so fast. The guys want it, they love it. This is great. We're painting it, we're having a great time with it. Because that's not a good subject matter because of some where these folks are. It may not be the best place. So sometimes subject matter that could maybe either put you back in a traumatic event or maybe
Mhm.
get you into that space where you're gone all the time may not be
Mhm.
the best thing for it. But for the most part, that's just something FYI. I think the
Yeah.
fine motor skills required, like we talked about TBI,
Mhm.
you got to do that. The ability to concentrate and
Mhm.
focus, like you talked
Mhm.
about, it gets you that mindfulness kind of a stage. The following detailed instructions, the fact that
Yeah.
I've got to go step by step by step through this. Every time you
Mhm.
complete a step, a little bit of dopamine gets released,
Yeah.
which is good. That's a good thing,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. Uh, the difficulty is scalable.
Yeah.
I can make these level one kits all the way up these super complex type of stuff. So if I've got
Mhm.
somebody who maybe I could I got four parts put together, and that's about it. That's good,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I can use that. Fine motor skills may not be required for some level of kits and some size, which
Okay.
is great. I think it's kind of there's room to be creative.
Yeah.
So when you create that, when you make a kit, well, I'm going to change the paint this way. I'm going to use the decals
Mhm.
that way. Or I'm going to make a diorama here. Or I'm going to take the guy and I'm going to put the gun on backwards. Whatever you want to do.
Right.
I can follow this thing, but I can also be creative in how I express myself and put a little bit of me in there, which is
Mhm.
being creative is healing. It really
Yeah.
is. And I think when you're done with it, or done with the pieces of it, you're proud of what you've done. That sense of accomplishment that I've done something that I'm proud of. I'm special. And maybe if I can do this, I can, do something else in my life that's been a challenge,
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So it's really what your listeners do. Yeah, it's fun, but it just heals the body and soul in so many different ways. I'm not trying
Yeah.
to be touchy-feely. I'm just saying
No.
that that's kind of what I've seen and what I've experienced,
Yeah.
what we've heard from folks on that as well.
You know, you mentioned a couple things, Joe, that really hit home with me, and I'm asking you to kind of maybe be a little bit real here for a minute. But I know there are people out there that might have this opportunity to join in with a group and maybe do some crafts or some models, but maybe they feel like there's a stigma because they're big, powerful, you know, and it can be men or women, you know, they're big, powerful people, and they have people that have always counted on them. So maybe you know, can you talk to normalizing conversations and having the community accept that, and maybe what that part of this equation looks like?
Yeah, I think a lot of that is just being accepting and having people who are willing to talk about how it's helped them, like stuff that what Grant shared, people, the guys and gals in Madison kind of shared. I think just talking about, hey, this helped me, this is how I found it helped me, kind of a thing. And it doesn't have to, that's part of what also I'm talking about, what I hope to get out of, with our engagement here on the Plastic Posse, is to kind of just kind of share what we've kind of learned. So your listeners may be able to share that with their friend or another group. Hey, why don't you try this out? This is what kind of helped me. And this is kind of why it works. A lot of times, just telling somebody this is cool, let's do it, and it's fun. That's great. But you can also share, hey, this is fun, but I think it's also this can help you, and this is kind of how I think it can be helpful. You know, a good way, a positive way of de-stressing. And for some folks, it's almost a way to self-medicate in a lot of ways, but in a very healthy way to kind of do that. So, I mean, is there a stigma or, oh, why are you doing this instead of like playing football or something like that? Yeah, maybe, but I think it's just being open and honest with folks, and being proud of kind of what you do. And then if you have folks within the group who is really helping, like, hey, I was a ranger, I was a special ops guy, I was a tanker, the veterans themselves who are, I find a lot of veterans who are in the hobby, it seems. And these guys are not touchy-feely, kind of crafty, kind of huggy kind of folks. Now, maybe they are, but you know what I mean, you know. And just by talking about this is what I do and damn proud of it, I think that can help as well. I think also if you talk to, I would say that if I had a young teenager who was hurt in football or was hurt in a car accident and had TBI, I would be there and say, hey, this guy likes cars, give him some car models, say, this is going to help you a little bit. And your doc is going to be all over this kind of thing. And educating the public about what you do and kind of why, and why parents should encourage their kids to get into the hobby. I think a lot of it has to do with subject matter too. I think, anime and sci-fi is big things now, so those kits I would hope are it's doing pretty well.
You're right. I mean, there is a little bit of but a stigma, I guess you would call it. I have learned that from this podcast and from, a lot of years of counseling and stuff like that, that opening up and talking about what happened to me, and listening to other veterans or first responders or whoever, their issues has made me better, a better person. Yeah. It's made me a better friend, a better employee. It's made me better. And that's why, at this point in my life, I don't play that game of the stigmas and stuff like that because, I'm 56 years old. I'm too old for that. I don't care. I love what I do. I love building models. I love, hanging out with Scott and the rest of the guys. I love traveling to shows, and I'm a sci-fi guy and I'm a figure painter, and that's about what I do. And I love it. And, and I'm helping people get past that is very key. But I think organizations like yours are designed to do that. And what's very important is that they are out there and people need to, this is 2024. We don't have to worry about that kind of stuff anymore.
You really don't. I think my kids don't. I'll tell you that. My kids listen to all kinds of music. They don't. Yep. My daughter's in the sewing. She's in anime. Yep. She does all kinds of stuff. My sons are the same. Kind of a thing. I think the the days of wanting to be part of the cool kids, it's not over. It's different now. There's different
Yeah.
pressures on our young folks, social media. I don't want to get into
Exactly.
any
Yeah.
stuff, that stuff. But I think a lot of it is just by, expressing your passion for what you do and why. And then understanding some of the science, like I talked about behind it. And like I said, come to our website. We got some papers up there, some stuff you can use. Feel free to use that when you educate you're looking for new members or you're talking to folks about how it can help you. I would hope, I'm also part of uh, a trade association in the craft and hobby space. And part of what we try to do is just try to educate people on how creativity can heal. And a lot of folks find it that way. There's a lot of folks, women find quilting circles. There are people who sew. There are people who paint. There are people who are undergoing depression who find how art therapy helps. All that kind of good stuff. So I think it's mental health is becoming such a big issue now and more accepted. I think the more that you can talk about that, about this is, we do this, and this is fun, but also what we do is healing. It can make you it has helped you in other different ways, kind of a thing. And I think people respect that if you're open and honest with them. So a lot of it is kind of how we react to somebody. Oh, you're not cool. Well, sorry, dude, I'm not 12 anymore. But I think this is what I do is pretty cool already. So.
Well, I mean, I think to that point, I think in 2024, society has kind of moved to where being a nerd is almost a badge of honor. We're all nerds. We all have our thing, but I want to go back to a couple words that you've said kind of over and over, and I really want the listeners out there to really kind of remember this, but it's communicate and educate. And I really, when I see the number of suicides with veterans and everything, I think it's just people feeling isolated. You mentioned social media a minute ago, and social media can be a blessing and it can also be a curse. I think it allows people to develop anonymous personalities and to isolate themselves from others. So I think maybe get your perspective on that, but I think drawing people out and talking to them and sending them a text message, hey, I haven't seen you on Facebook for a while. Are you okay? Or I haven't talked with you in a few weeks. How are things going? But that value of social interaction and communication, I think, is so important.
It is. I think it's one of the great things about the hobby and about all the organizations and all the little communities that build up around that. Sometimes it's virtual, sometimes it's in person kind of a thing, but that's super critical. I mean, it really is. It's something that when you're feeling isolated, you're in your brain, it's going, it's only me. And a lot of times, suicide. And I'm not a doc, okay, but I've been to some conferences, so please don't, I'm sharing what I've learned more so than I'm trying to give any type of medical advice or something like that. But what I've seen and I've heard from folks is that one of the common things you hear about, people who knew somebody commit suicides. Well, I had no idea. He or she seemed fine to me. And what you'll see is sometimes what the docs talk about is through that sine wave kind of a thing. And all of a sudden, sometimes somebody's up, sometimes they're down. And it's cyclical for some folks, kind of going forward. And sometimes what you can do just by asking a question like, "Are you okay?" You can help somebody break that cycle. Just by caring. It doesn't take much. Just maybe a little bit of outreach, maybe a phone call, and allow them to kind of either express themselves, that somebody else is checking on them or caring. That can be very helpful, or encourage them to get help. I mean, one of the things that I know that I think Scott, you said you're in Utah, right? And I think there was
Yeah.
I remember seeing a campaign at one of the conferences, I think it was Utah, where they talked about gun locks at one time and how that was very helpful for suicide prevention. I'm not going to get into gun control, all that kind of good stuff, but I'm a big believer in gun safety and gun locks. Just saying, okay? But also one of the benefits there as well is that sometimes what I've heard also from docs is there's steps, like in order to, most, young men will commit suicide via firearm. So maybe I've got to find my weapon. I've got to load my weapon. I've got to, chamber around. And sometimes one more step, I have to unlock it, and the fact that I have to unlock this thing is maybe one step too many, so there's been some research says how that's been impactful in lowering suicide rates. And I always say that because I think having that community there's nothing wrong with that. Encouraging somebody to come, to reach out and be part of that group is something that you guys and gals do within the hobby. I think is really important, especially when there's so many veterans there. And allowing people to kind of be able to share their story and how it helps allows folks to think that it's not alone. And also, it's like not just like, encouraging you to like, or ask you're okay, or maybe saying maybe you should get some help. Maybe you should call this VA hotline, or if you have a community hotline or something like that. Or just maybe just taking that extra step to kind of help someone can make a big difference. It really can.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just, encouraging people to engage,
Yeah.
and that might be a phone call, it might be going and grabbing a hamburger, it might be a post on social media, but yeah, just letting them know that there are people. And again, that goes back to what I think is great about this community is we speak a common language, and that language, distraction is the wrong word, but that language allows you to at moments focus on something other than all of these things that are swirling around, and things that maybe can lead down roads that we hope people don't go down. And so I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, ditto for sure.
Well, let's maybe get into. I know there's a lot of there's kind of a spectrum of what you can do, but if somebody is in Utah or New Mexico or whatever, how can they kind of help you and help their local community, maybe by donating some kits and supplies, or participating in like some group builds? How can people do that?
I think that's exactly. First off, for us, I think if you've got, some kits that they're just kind of like collecting dust somewhere, they're in a storage unit, reach out to us, on our website, tells you how, and we'll get them out there. We can help you shipping, too. Sometimes that's helpful, but sometimes we can get, if it's a big enough or thing, we can like, okay, we'll pay to have it shipped over here if it's a big enough, or you guys create like get a couple $100 together as a group and ship it out to us there. If you don't want to do that, there's you can reach out to your local VA. There's ways you can do that to kind of help them see, hey, I've got these, but can I help? I know other folks who have started local groups within their VA or within their like via the VFW, the Legion, AMVETS. These are all could be good partners as well. For that. I think a lot of what I would really hope that the community does is try to learn a little bit more about the science of why what they do helps. Because if you can articulate that, you can apply that
Yeah.
tool within your own community. And I'm talking, yeah, me, I'm a veteran active duty military guy, but there are a lot of folks out there in your community who could really benefit, who maybe never served from the hobby. And if you can be an advocate for how creativity can help heal and find partners, you're like, maybe your local craft group, your local Michael store, whatever. I think there can be some benefit there, and you guys can be advocates there, and that can help also, and also to maybe grow the hobby as well. I think also if you want to do a fundraiser, obviously, if you do donate, just consider us. That's all I'll say about that. There's ways you can give online and whatnot like that. And we'd appreciate it, but I would encourage you, especially with Giving Tuesday coming up. If not us, pick somebody else. There's a
Yeah.
lot of great folks out there who do a lot of great work, and whatever follow your heart. If your heart's veterans, great, pick us. If you're looking for the homeless, you're looking for people who are sick. Those are all great causes. Pets, whatever. Just give, kind of thing. Help your fellow man, however you want to do that. I think.
Absolutely.
I think if you have stories of how the hobby has helped you, I'd like to hear them. Share them with us. Share them with us on social media. Share them with each other on your website, the Plastic Positive. I would actually encourage you, if you guys want to do that, maybe do something within your own social media streams to ask folks to share their stories with you. How it helped them, and not just with you, but with each other. I think that can be really powerful, and just say that, yeah, this is really, because I heard a lot of folks literally how this hobby has saved their life.
Yeah,
And that is not
absolutely.
unusual, and more stories like that, how it helped, a little bit of background would be great. And I think just sharing that with each other can create that healing environment for your other members. Like maybe somebody maybe not coming out, or maybe a member can use that story to engage a friend or family member to say, hey, why don't you try this? Try this. I've got this extra kit lying around the back of my house. Why don't you try this? I think it'll help you,
Yeah.
kind of thing. And this is why. You
Yeah.
know. And I think
Absolutely.
also just being an advocate for what we do. I mean, being an advocate for your hobby and how it's helped you, and sharing that story is important. Because a lot of folks have mental health issues right now, and what you folks do, what your listeners do, is something you found that's very helpful. But like I said, it ain't the silver bullet, but it's a tool in the toolbox. And it could appeal to some people.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, one of the things that we'll do after we're done recording is we'll start kind of walking down the road and try to make it easy on our listeners, get some, information from you that we can put on our website and our podcast episodes to help you. But let's kind of start with our toolkit of resources. So, what is your website? And, if people want to donate cash or find out more about what you do, let's get them to your website. So what is that?
It's healvets.org, HEALVETS.org. We're really active on social media, be it YouTube. You can find some videos, some testimonials there. Facebook, Instagram are the ones that we kind of use a lot, and LinkedIn a little bit, kind of thing. That's more for corporate type stuff. So healvets.org is a place to go. You can find donation issues, things there. Find some background about what we do, the people that we serve, and I think that's probably the best place right there.
Okay, and then let's go through your YouTube channel. What's your YouTube channel?
Oh, sure, you're gonna make me look it up, aren't you?
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
There you go. Right. Let's see. Bring up YouTube here while looking at it. I can put links up. There's all that stuff on the website, by the way.
Okay.
But, our YouTube is HHV123. So it's YouTube @ HHV123.
Excellent. And on Facebook? Yeah, he's not coming back now. He's
I am
Scott.
I am. Usually I can say, hey, go to the website. There's links there. Click it. But you guys are, you
just want to get all the tools we can.
It's Help Heal Veterans. Facebook.com/Help Heal Veterans, all one word.
Excellent.
And
excellent.
I know Instagram. I know you're coming Instagram.
Yep.
So I got one more question real quick. You mentioned some of your partners Southwest. So who are some of your other partners?
Let's see. We have a great relationship with the Elks.
Right.
Because they give us like deerskin, which is awesome for that. We have a good relationship we've done some stuff with Joanne's, getting donated, stuff like that. One thing that you guys can actually help me with here a little bit is I think within the modeling industry, some of the the wholesalers and stuff like that. I would love to partner with some of those folks who may be able to provide a lot of stuff. What we do is from some partners is we'll get like through Joanne's is that we'll either have the opportunity, like things are out of stock now, they're not using anymore, they want to get rid of them, so they'll donate them, or they may have things that may be subject matter that maybe is not moving. For example, we had a lot of maybe a couple of years ago, we got a donation of a huge amount of stuff from a wholesaler that was like German and Russian military vehicles. And those went like hotcakes. Don't care, SU-74 or whatever it is, I got it, Sure, officer, I'll build it. Don't care, kind of a thing. So that'd be, any relationship with that, any of your corporate type folks are out there, would love to have a relationship with you. And I mentioned that for a couple of reasons. Yeah, we want some stuff, but also I think it's important. I think it'd be great if some of your manufacturers could talk a little bit more about the benefits of the hobby. Not just, it's fun, it celebrates, it's great, but a little bit on their website about, by the way, this is also how it benefits you. I think it would be good for their community and for the hobby itself. And we're on Instagram, it's at HealVets.
Yeah. Okay.
Excellent. So people can make cash donations, they can donate kits. We can talk about maybe ways with the podcast, have you back, and maybe look at fundraisers, and we will definitely do that. Any other ways, like if somebody's like say in a local AMPS club or IPMS chapter that they can do that, is the best way to get hold of their local VA office, or can they just contact you directly?
I'll tell you what. Why don't you reach out to? I'm going to have our product guy, John Hernandez, John H. at healvets.org. John H. at healvets.org is our production guy. He handles all the donations. He's the guy that you could reach out to if you have donations as well. But also, if you're looking for a little bit of help, like we want to be active in our community. How can I help? Reach out to John. We'll talk about it as a group, and we'll see if we can put you in touch with somebody locally, like that we may deal with. Like for example, we have one of our programs that we have is a mail at home program. We have people who may not be able to get to the VA, and who are looking for something to do at home. And I would love to be able to maybe work out something that maybe, there's like 3 or 4 folks in your local community, older vets, maybe they would appreciate a model from the local group so we don't have to like mail it to them.
Right.
There's something almost like Meals on Wheels in a way,
Mhm.
I can see that working. Or there's like, we got a great relationship if you're in like the Fort Hood area,
Mhm.
that, oh yeah, we know the art therapist there, the Intrepid Spirit. Maybe we can
Yep.
reach out and put you in touch with them. So I think that'd be a great way to do it.
Okay.
So drop
Yeah.
John a line, and if you have something to donate, or if you're looking for a little bit of stuff, some ideas on how your chapter can help, yeah, that'd be great.
Excellent. And I'm going to add to that, if any of the listeners need some help and you're not really social media savvy, or you just don't really know where to start, reach out to Grant or myself on the
Yep.
Plastic Posse, and we will be happy to get you in touch with the organization and who we need to get you in touch with. And that's on both ends of that. That's if you want to donate and if you want to help, or if you just think that, you'd like to join in with a group somewhere, or you could maybe, grab one of these kits and maybe have some benefit from it. So please
Right.
don't hesitate to reach out to the posse as well.
Right.
Awesome.
Excellent. Well, Joe, thank you very much. I'm going to put you on the spot right now and tell you that we want to have you back again.
Yep.
This has been fantastic, and really appreciate you taking some time with us. Again, it's something that we believe in, and we want to help every bit that we can. Every member of our community is valuable, and every person out there has value, and we want to make sure that if people are struggling, we do what we can to help them and let them know that we all have issues, we all have struggles. The brain is an organ like any other, like your arm or your leg or your toe, and these things happen, and there's no stigma, and let's work together to help people.
I'd love that, and I'd also love it like if some of your listeners do write in the stories, and not just veterans. Like I said, if you've got folks
Right.
that everybody's got issues. If this hobby has helped you, with either partial issues, I think it'd be great if you could share those, maybe with the posse here, and maybe they could read it or whatever, and just encourage folks to, hey, you're not alone.
Yeah.
This works, and I think that would be pretty powerful.
Absolutely. And, we've done episodes on this, and I think we should put something together. I'll work with you on that. And then also, we do a yearly fundraiser for Models for Heroes. And maybe let's talk about how we can set something with you up for 2025 moving forward. And let's continue to work together on that. And in the meantime, Joe, keep doing what you're doing. You're making a difference. This is just incredible, and we support you 100%.
Well, thanks, Scott and Grant. Thanks so much for your time, and thanks for being good advocates. Not just for your hobby, but for your members and for our vets in active duty.
Yeah. Thanks, Joe, so much. As a vet, to another vet, thank you for what you've done and what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, Grant. I like you, though you're an Army guy, so thanks a lot.
Well, someone's got to be. So.
Well, and to both of you, thank you for sharing very personal experiences, Grant and Joe, both of you, and thank you both for your service, and can't wait to do this again. So thank you very much.
Awesome, sir. Y'all take care.
Take care.
You too.
All right. Well, thanks for listening into that. And having said that, Jensen, I can still see a little bit of light over there. But what time is it over there?
Well, it's funny you ask, but bear with me a sec. Someone's knocking at the door. Someone's ringing the bell. Do me a favour and buy some merch off me. It's time for merch. If you would like to rep the posse, check out our awesome merch on the Triple P Spring page. You can find coffee mugs, t-shirts, jumpers, or even some of our world-famous Triple P lounge trousers. You can order all your stylish Triple P Plastic Posse merch on the web at loungetrousers.com. And on that note, I will say, thank you for riding along with us for episode 109 of the Plastic Posse. We appreciate your support, as well as to our amazing patrons. We would also like to thank Tancraft, Bases by Bill, Tamiya USA, and AK Interactive for supporting what we do. And remember, the Plastic Posse is available on YouTube. We will return again in 2 weeks for another packed episode about all things scale models. Do you have any feedback, suggestions, ideas, or just want to drop us a line? Send your feedback to us via email at plasticpossepodcast@gmail.com. And on that note, yeehaw! Ow. My youthful voice.
Very, very manly. I love it. I love it.
One of the ways they can help support the Plastic Posse is to become a Plastic Posse Outrider. If you want to become a Plastic Posse Outrider, it's easy. You can even do it while wearing your lounge trousers. Just go over to Patreon, our Patreon page at patreon.com/Plastic Posse Podcast and set up a recurring donation there. These contributions help offset the cost of bringing you the posse, and there are 3 different tiers of support starting at just $1 a month. There's some great benefits to being an outrider, like early access to the podcast, premium access to the host, the chance to appear on a podcast, and exclusive Triple P content and social media events at shows. Let's recognize our amazing deputy marshals. These contributors help the posse do what we do, and we sincerely thank them for their support. They are, in no particular order, Richard Lane, Robbie Knopfs, Wesley Becker, Eric Daglish, David Wassel, Matt Tutman, Glenn Fellin, Patrick Neff, Zach Pease, Robert Halleck, Brett Marcan, Greg Williams, Nick Wolf, Brian Clark, Sean Earl, Black Hat Scale Model Studios, Ben Hardaway, Craig Jarbo, Adam Jackson, Red Beach One Studios, James Mirando, Mike Norris, Stephen Rodwell, Rick Cooper, Eric Kavina, John Hale, Eric Kane, Logan Hansen, Paul Burdett, Tim Gidcombe, Dan Newman, Robert Blocker, Tyler Moore, Derek Post, Craig Flynn, Ken Childress, Drew Garner, Scott Hall, Frank Perrone, The Voice of Bob, Jeremy Diamond, Ryan Smith, Terry Wilkinson, Chris Lovewell, Andrew Callis, Ethan Idemill, Steve Baker, Joe Porche, Patrick Brown, Jay Kidd, Brandon Gentry, Lee Fogel, Robert Klein, Mark Ewing, Toadman, Model Doc, Doug Reed, Greg James, Les Percala, John Everett, Uncle Buck, Mark Bradley, Eric Brubaker, Jeremy Moore, DB Scale Model Studio, Jeremy Elliott, Mike Talley, Previous Seat, Mediocre Middle-Aged Modeler, Dan Knopfel, and JC Osborne.
Let's not forget our posse foreman. This group is made up of posse outriders who give our deputy marshals a hand, and we thank them for their support. David, Keith, Scale Model Craft, Dwayne, AK Armor, Bill, JAK, Casey, Therese, Raphael, Russ, Stefan, Mikkel, LeVar, Gil, Mike, Michael, Steve, Scott, Emery, The Krieger, Aussie Modeler, William, Jeff, Eddie, Ross, Warhoff Models, G. Baker, Tom Stuff, Crazy Loca, Len, Cliff, Damian, Cody, Nukeman Mike, Ash, Irish Pat, Paul, What is Going On with iBones Models, Mr. Grizz, Jackson, Joel, Chris, Robert, Jamie, MD Models, Papa Steve Munsell, happy birthday recently, sir, JV, Eric, Matthew, and David.
And of course, our $1 and free posse outriders like Sam and Henry. Thank you guys. Lastly, would you kindly consider posting a review of the Triple P on your favourite podcast platform? Each posted review helps other modelers find the Plastic Posse.